Combat Kickstarter, weaklings. It's packed with hundreds of savage bloods. Bringer here, ready to toss your dice and your morals into the abyss. Then back the Roll for Combat Kickstarter, weaklings. It's packed with hundreds of savage blood-soaked options to obliterate your enemy. And better yet, you'll get to use them in my game, the Deathbringer RPG. Coming next year, the Deathbringer RPG isn't some soft, cuddlecore fantasy nonsense. It's fast, mean, and completely unforgiving. In Deathbringer, you don't save the world. You stab it in the heart, loot the corpse, and set it on fire for good measure. Every backer of the Roll for Combat Secret Tomes for Shadowdark Kickstarter will get an exclusive sneak peek at the glorious carnage of Deathbringer and a chance to play in the beta test later this year. So sharpen your blade, sell your soul, and back it now. Ignore me and I'll use your spine as a bookmark. Back now.
It's time for Roll for Combat.
Hey, we are markless today. Although that's not true because my middle name is Mark. So we are down one Mark. Now we only have me, Stephen Mark Glicker, and Derek Mark Melenda, and Brian Mark Collins. We'll all be Mark in honor of Mark not being here.
We are all Mark.
We are all
No,
Mark.
I am an Adam.
You are that's my son's name.
I know.
No, so
That's why I can always remember your son's name, but sometimes forget your daughter's name.
Robin, as in
There
like,
you go. Okay. Yes.
like Batman and Robin, or Robin Quivers.
There you go.
Or all these other Robins. Anyhow, we are going to talk about an interesting topic. I thought people ask about this once in a while and I hear it all the time. This is what I hear. I don't hear people actually want to run a game company. I have an idea for a game. When I was in video games, oh my God, did I hear that a lot? I was like, I have a good idea for a video game. I'm like, everyone has a good idea. That's not the hard part. It's making it that's the hard part. And they're like, oh, can I tell you my idea and then you pay me? I'm like, no, you take your idea and go make a video game. And they're like, oh, well, that's so much work. I'm like, yeah, welcome to the show.
Hey, the Stardew Valley guy did it.
And I'm not saying it's impossible. A lot of people do. I mean, look at Blautro. I mean, geez, that guy's like multimillionaire. I mean, he did it. And you can do it. But the point is that a lot of people say they want to do it. But then there's that very few that, it's like the filter system. It's like the Swiss cheese system where you go through the various filters. It's like, oh, I forgot my hand gestures will move the camera. I got to fix that. It's that, some people who want to do it, and then there's people who say, okay, I'll do something, and then they do something like, on their own, like on like a drive-through or something, and then they maybe get something printed up, and then maybe they get something kickstarted, but then there's the ultimate is actually committing yourself to making a full-time living off this, which there really aren't that many of us because we all know each other. And
it's probably also because, unless you have really massive Kickstarters, like I live a very carny-like lifestyle. I have, tomorrow I'm driving 12 hours to another convention because you got to keep convention,
Game
Kickstarter to keep cash flow moving.
Are you going to Game Hole?
No, I'm going to Pittsburgh Gaming Expo.
Oh.
You're going to Pittsburgh?
Yes,
Guess
I actually went
what?
to art school there. What? Do you
I'm
live
going
near
to be
there?
in Pittsburgh this weekend.
Get out of town. Are you going to Pittsburgh Gaming Expo?
No, but I am now.
Yes.
I didn't know you were there. No, I went to Carnegie.
You say, huh?
Yes.
Carnegie Mellon. I went to Carnegie Mellon.
I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Okay, my son went to Pitt. Is going to Pitt.
Is going to Pitt. He just
going to
started.
Pitt, and it's freshman. It's some parents' weekend this weekend.
Oh, awesome.
And
So-
what better way to celebrate your child's achievement of joining college by blowing that off and going
and rolling dice. Well, if
Where
you're
is
around,
it? Where's the Pittsburgh Game Expo?
It's in Monroeville. Like,
Oh,
that's
wait.
like 20
I know
minutes
the Pittsburgh
away.
Game Expo. You know why? Because I'm invited to be a speaker there every year, and I never get to go because I'm always busy.
Well, if you're in Saturday afternoon, I'm hosting a panel on playing games other than D&D. If you want to join in on the panel, I'd love to have you there.
What time is that?
I believe 2 to 245.
Oh, okay. I think I got to go to the pit game, but I'll come by. Actually, I know exactly where it is. It's in the Monroeville Convention Center. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I've only ever been to the one that's like properly downtown in Pittsburgh. That's where all the
Yeah.
magic ones are.
Yeah.
The one that's like there's like that. It's like a covered parking, not parking, but it's like there's like 2 halls and they're separated by a big pillared roadway. That's the one I've been to a bunch, but I've never been out east.
Nope. Yeah, no, I've been invited. I was supposed to go 2 years ago, but then there was this massive rainstorm here and like all the flights were canceled. Like it was like terrible. So I didn't go. Last year I was too busy going to the baseball playoffs. So I didn't go. And then this year,
Well, this year you don't have to go.
I don't have to worry about that at all.
Sick.
You know what?
Whose team didn't make the playoffs?
You know what? I'm
paid the most money in
glad.
all of baseball and didn't make the playoffs?
I'm glad.
The Guardians,
I'm watching the
16
game
and a
right
half
now.
games back, made it all the way. They're going to lose to the
Fan of
Tigers.
Cleveland. I don't mind Cleveland. No,
All right.
the thing is, I'm actually glad they blew it, and I'll tell you why. Because now it forces a rebuild. It forces them to throw out the towel and start over. Because if they made it, they could have just kept things the way they are. We're talking about the Mets. You know what? Thing is, I'm so used to it. It's not even surprising anymore. It really isn't. It's like I'm so used to disappointment that when it happens, it's like an old friend. It's like, disappointment.
Oh, this is comfortable. This
Come
is
embrace me. I'm used to you. I'm used to these collapses. But
the point was, as you said,
back to what you were doing. You're going to Gamehole Con.
So,
Not Gamehole Con. You're going to the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo.
As you said, it's a carny-based lifestyle. It's a very hustle-based lifestyle, right?
You have to keep working. I mean, especially you're trying to continue to grow a fan base. You're trying to get back in front of people that may have seen you once. A lot of times you go to a convention and you're in their hometown and they see you once and they're like, maybe. Then you go back the second time. They're like, okay, yeah, now I want to taste. And then you come back a third time. They're like, I want everything. You know, you have to keep building those relationships and be genuine about it as you go.
I know that's something that Steven has said. We were just at PAX West, and one of the metrics that he has brought up, even though the data was supposed to be, I was supposed to get more data.
I'm going to get it to you. Well, after Mark made fun of you, I felt bad, but I'll get it to you.
But one of the things that he noted was that regardless of the actual profitability, because obviously there's travel expenses and flights and meals and the booth itself and all the shipping. Right. But he said, but outside of that, one of the things that Stephen always brought up is how like 90% of the customers that we did have were brand new customers, people who never dealt with us before, maybe even didn't know us. And so just getting your name out there can build that sort of groundswell, that sort of, the rising tide, so to speak, which I think is really actually a really interesting part. Because one of the things that we talk about all the time is, these overnight successes are hardly usually anything but, right? And,
yeah, absolutely.
So like when people are like, oh, Kelsey came out of nowhere with Shadowdark, and it's like, no, she'd been grinding on on DriveThruRPG and all these other things for a long time and building up a newsletter and all this other stuff. And then when she launched her Kickstarter, she had this, sort of established, well-established base.
Yeah. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free. Well, super chats will always get answered. If otherwise, if we see it, we'll answer it. And do check out. Brian has a new Kickstarter that he just posted. What is in your Kickstarter, by the way? Because it seems like you're just doing a ton of stuff. You have like a starter set, you have a book, you have like so many damn things in here. I was like,
well, I wanted to, because it seems like I'm still getting a lot of new people infected in the game and getting new people to play the game. I wanted to introduce a starter set, and especially it has 7 total zines in the project. And it's now that I'm going and printing things myself, I'm able to break things up. Look at all that beautiful vast grim that you have there. Thank you.
Why isn't it reversed? I don't know why it's reversed, but yes.
No, we're seeing it. I'm seeing it the right way.
Oh,
it's mirroring reversed on your side.
Yeah,
maybe?
It's mirroring, but whatever.
But with this, I have a starter set to get new people involved. I've broken up the rules into a crew member manual, a network operator manual, which is network operators, what I call GMs now, a threat registry, some adventures, some lore. My friend John Baltisberger has written fiction for Merkborg, and he wrote a novella for me as well. And he's going to be continuing to write fiction on a quarterly basis. And one of the books in there, Humanity's Protectorate, is one of those. I've got A5 size battle binders, which are like this, but with different art. So you can carry you'll in the pledge manager, you'll be able to say whether you want your zines hole punched or not.
Well, the
Some people don't
binder,
want
I
them
thought
punched.
I was thinking of
I
Trapper
fucking
Keepers.
love that.
Yeah, I was like a Trapper Keeper, man.
They're legally they're distinctly
that is
different
old
legally.
school. Old school.
No, I
That's a
absolutely
Trapper Keeper. Brian is making Trapper Keepers, except
mean-
it's spelled with a K and C. It's Kepper.
Look, there is a long and glorious historical element
Yes.
to the games being designed to be used. And I think that's what's really great about that. I mean, one of the things that I always say is like, it's great to have these things as art pieces, but it's another thing to have them designed to be, usable. And I think the downside of the zines is, as you said, is, you get a bunch of them and it's like, how do you track? I love that idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And so there's the box is also sold separately. And it's oversized, so you can fit a bunch of zines in there. Like I go and I run games twice a month at my local brewery, and I never want to. Stephen, you pulled out that big stack of books. I don't want to take all that with me because I'm walking to the brewery, and right.
Big
so now that I can
stack.
pick and choose, right? It's a lot. I can now pick and choose what I want to take.
I think that's less thin than the Pathfinder 2 core rulebook.
Well, I think it's less than my Jewel the Indigo Isles, which is
like I don't want to be laying in bed reading an RPG book, accidentally
Have it
fall
kill you.
asleep and have it break my nose.
Well, then you shouldn't buy any of my books.
I have taken some nasty hits. I'm not going to lie.
I bet.
I'm well known for falling asleep in bed, and I will sometimes frequently hold my book and smash myself in the face.
Oh my God. It's like, what was that injury? It's like, it was RPG related.
Right. Or I'm sure that's in Rollmaster somewhere. But yeah, so it's a lot more work, I think, than one of the things actually, people, because, I'm on the other end of it from you guys, right?
But
I'm
I know
just
you're
a content
joking.
creator.
I know
I'm
you're
just a content
joking
creator.
that you wouldn't have much to say, but you've been helping me out. In fact, you have an interesting take because you're coming in from completely fresh and seeing
Correct.
how. And to
But
be
I
honest,
get a lot of.
you're learning about it the same way I am.
Well, no, unfortunately, I have the downside of that, which is, I'm this, content creator on YouTube. I have a small but loyal following, and a lot of people ask, "Oh, Derek, when are you gonna make something for something?"
Yeah.
See, my downside is I don't have the naivete that a lot of people have because I've hung out with people like Brian and Steven, and I know how much fucking work it is, and I'm terrified. I'm like, no way, I'm not gonna get burned out and destroyed that way. So, if anything, I think learning about the process has made me less willing and less excited to engage with it. No, because it's a huge work, and especially, you have to the whole vertical, right, from soup to nuts, and especially, I don't want to say control freak, but someone like me who's like, I want to, control the beginning and the end.
I'm with you. I like fulfillment. Like I like stuffing envelopes, seeing like what I made going out to the final person. I get it.
Yeah. So like, the scope and scale of even a quote unquote small publisher like Roll for Combat was mightily disabused when we went to his warehouse distributor at Crown in Portland, Oregon, and I just saw the freaking pallet bays of
Right.
just the freaking to the ceiling. This aisle is Roll for Combat, and I'm just like, and like the fact they're like, oh man, these books used to be across the ocean, and now they're here, and it's like it's just the scale of it was just too much for me. I was like, I'm out. I'm checked out.
You just got to start a little smaller and not put out so many books, and you'll grow into it as you put out more and more, and you kind of feel for it as you're working your way to bigger things.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is a case that, like, in a certain sense, if you don't want to lose your shirt, profitability is sort of tied to scale, right? Because we were talking a little bit before we went live about, there's fixed costs like hiring an editor, costs like hiring artists and getting art done. That art piece is going to be $2,000, whether you sell 1,000 units or whether you sell 50 units.
Totally.
So, there's a strong, I think, financial incentive to want to get your game into as many people's hands as you can. So,
yeah, I mean, it is fascinating because like this happened to me. So I loved video games and like really love video games, like way more than even TTRPGs and stuff. And I always wanted to get into the video game. What? Blasphemy. It's not blasphemy. It's all the same.
Modern video games?
No, back in the day, like, I mean, I grew up in the Atari age, so we're talking like Space Invaders and Pong and crap. And so, I grew up and then wanted to get into video games, and I kind of did. I worked with Blizzard and on their stuff. And I also was had podcast Gaming Steve, and I was big in the gaming industry. And then I actually worked with Disney and worked on some of their games. And after working on their games and working like actually programming and developing and publishing games, I said to myself, yeah, I'm done. I was actually done with it. And because it was insanely hard. The difference is I publish software and websites, CD-ROMs, things like that. The thing with software is that you can publish something as software and it can be 98% complete or 96% complete, and you'll be fine because you can patch it. But if you publish a game and if it is not 100% complete, not 99, not 98, it has to be 100% complete, a video game. And that lasts, to quote Breaking Bad, if anyone remembers, it goes, that last 2% is so hard to do. It's like that.
It may not seem like a lot, but it's a golf. It's a tremendous golf.
Tremendous. That last 2%. And we spent more time like finishing the last 2% of a video game than to freaking make it in the first place. And I was like, yeah, I'm out, man. That's way too hard. Same thing happened to me when I was in because I'm very big in movies and television. I used to work for MTV. Same thing. I went into that and I was like, nah, too hard. It's too people getting fired all the time. It was like really too tough for me. But this, I dipped my toe in, and for whatever reason, not too bad. Like it's not too bad. I like it, and I do have to work. As Derek might call me workaholic. As I said, if you want to, like my friends, we talk for a video for a Pathfinder game. We'll be like, what movies you're seeing, what TV shows you're seeing, what are you doing? And I'm like, I see nothing. Nothing.
Right. You're working on your stuff.
Because I'm working.
What time do you get up every morning, Stephen?
I get up at 9.
Oh, okay. That's too late in the day. I get up at 5:30 to start working on stuff.
Okay. Well, I get up at 9, but I go to sleep at 2 or 3.
Okay. Yeah. No, I fall asleep way too early. So.
Yeah. No. I go to
have
sleep.
You both beat.
I know. Well, you go to sleep at like 3 and wake up at like noon.
I go to sleep at like 3 or 4 and I wake up at noon. So
yeah. I get it. But I'm a night owl, and also every single one of my artists, they're all over the world, and I do work a lot with China. So, and in my day job, I used to also work. Most of my programmers are overseas as well. So for me, nighttime is like people are awake, and I got to work overseas. So to me, it's actually people are like, oh, you're working late. I'm like, no, actually, this time is better because if I wake up earlier, I'm just gonna have to work later anyhow. So
that might be an interest. I'm interested to hear the perspective differences, say, between the two of you, because. You look at someone like Steven in Roll for Combat, and obviously Steven has his head of game design, Mark, who does majority of the mechanical work.
Right.
But then, and Steven's obviously acting as sort of maestro and composer, but also doing the design and stuff like that, layout. But Steven's also acting as art director and then outsourcing these art projects. Sure. And he's, getting it printed, overseas and trying to arrange the printers and all this other stuff, working with distributors and stuff like that. Whereas you, Ryan, are sort of the opposite in some ways. You're right. You're taking the different approach, which is soup to nuts. You kind of want to control the whole process.
Yes, but there were times prior to like the current Kickstarter where I was manufacturing almost everything over in China. Like my card game Plunderlust was all done in China. But a lot of it stems from the ability, because I have the graphic design background, because I have the art background, the ability to do things myself, and because I move and pivot at such a pace that if something isn't working, I switch it to a different route, that it's really hard for me to bring in somebody else to join in on stuff. Like the original core Vaskrim book I co-wrote with my friend Ross Brandt, who also did graphic design for a chunk of it, and he did some of the art in it as well, and we had David LaRocca do some of the art, and Alan Panicle do some of the art. But with all the stuff moving forward, it's just I tend to work on 3 different projects at one time, and I'm writing and laying out, and writing and laying out, and writing and laying out, so that I can, if I get stuck somewhere, I can keep moving. But it also getting up early. That was like at 5:30 in the morning. Usually in China, they're still working, so I was able to work with my print reps and things like that overseas. And having the print and design background, I've handled all my manufacturing as well, because that's just, you learn how to do it if you don't already know how, how to make a book. than all the ancillary products you figure out along the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that's, well, first we have a super chat from Tiny Swan Grand. It cut off. Admiral, maybe? I remember correctly, you're one who brought into existence my favorite D&D race. He wrote a Guanta, but it's the parrot people. I can't remember their name.
Gamayan?
The Gamayan, that's it. You know, I'm looking at it. Yeah, Gamayan, the one that he wrote here through me. Steven. Also, hi, Brian. So stoked for the Kickstarter. So, yes,
Thank you so much.
I am actually running for the first time. I'm going to send out an email. I started, finally, Jewel of the Indigo Isles, the adventure path that I designed and co-wrote with many other very, very good writers. And I'm finally running my own adventure path for my players. So I'm very excited. And it started, we play on Mondays, and you can watch episode 1 now. And we only go for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So they're short. So you can watch it pretty quick. And my guys, these guys are, oof, boy, are they good. They're very good. And they're playing an Eldamon trainer. We have an Eldamon avatar who went with water, by the way, Derek. So he's going to do high tide, low tide. He's very excited. We have
as he should be.
We have a vanilla fighter. Actually, a dungeon. Actually, let me rephrase. We have a dungeon fighter.
Living dungeon
fighter. Yep. We have and his name is Quas Quinton. Do you remember? How about that for a deep cut? We have a sea dragon cleric. We have a living spell elemental avatar and a Zolt Eldamon trainer. So there we go. So no humans.
Yep. That definitely sounds like a vomitous mass of races and classes.
well, no normal ones though. No normal ones. So.
Well, yeah, but isn't nowadays, if you're just like a human fighter, aren't you the daring and the brave one, right? Because like everyone nowadays is like, oh, I'm a living trench coat with 3 kobolds in it, and my class is that I'm a banker grapher, and I attack people with wads of capitalism or something. I don't know. Like nowadays, if you're just a human fighter, people are like, wow, so brave.
Well, no, I did it on purpose because keep in mind, we've been playing for 50 years. Like, we have gotten it out of our system. You know how many times we've been humans? You know how many times we've been dwarves? You know how many times we've been elves?
It was good enough for Tolkien. It's good enough for me.
Well, yeah, but you know what? We did it for 35, 40. We basically did it until Starfinder. When Starfinder came out, then we stopped playing those. And then I've insisted them stop playing it because I'm sick of seeing those. And
That's fair.
they like it because they get to actually try out new things. Like the dungeon is hiding things in his dungeon. And I'm like, that's like pretty cool. I was like, yeah, he's like, is that a bad idea? He says, well, if you die, it's lost forever. Other than that, it's a good idea. So we'll see. Anyhow, yes. I don't remember. Oh, I was answering the super chat. Oh, so what I was saying is that the thing about doing this job is that everyone who does it, I've noticed one thing, and it's pretty common, is that everyone who does it, who's not a designer like Mark, can do like 20 things. Like
you kind of have to.
Yeah. Well, but not even have to, but you have to because you can't hire too many people because you won't make any money. So you have to have the ability to do multiple things. And the core things you really need help with, it's like you need someone who could do layout and design. Now that one you can outsource, but that's actually pretty hard to outsource. It's getting a little easier, but most people do their own. Art, you can outsource. I know Brian does his own, and a lot of people do their own. That I outsource, but I'm used to that. I outsource all my art for all my other projects. The writing, you definitely need someone who can write. You could outsource that, but if you don't know how to write, and if you can't do game mechanics, then that is literally the core capability. Like everything else is extra, but
game mechanics, I'd say,
not game mechanics,
could be negligible if you're doing a rules light game.
I'm talking about writing. You have to be able to be a decent writer. I don't do any game mechanics. Mark does. Yeah. He does 100%. He doesn't even do 99% of the game mechanics. He does 100% of the game mechanics. But I do all the editing. I do write a ton of the books. I do a lot of the lore. I rewrite a lot, but if you can't write, it's.
Well, you know what the real advantage though?
this.
I think Brian has the biggest advantage, and I'll tell you why. Because I'll tell you something. As someone who is not an artist in any stretch of the imagination, if you are trying to find an artist, good luck finding something that isn't basically just anime. Like I swear, like if you go to like Fiverr or if you go to like VGen, I swear every single artist is just anime. Like 80-90% of it is just anime.
It's easy. It's easy to do and cheap.
Yeah, of course it is.
So
it's
that's
easy,
why you don't
but
use
also,
Fiverr.
But also, it's what they grew up with, right?
Yeah.
I think the best way to do it, if you can, is going out to conventions that have artist areas and walking through, because those people are already self-motivated. They're already producing work to try and get out in front of people. And you're all able to actually make a connection and get a feel for them person to person.
I get a lot. I mean, I don't know. I was an art director for a long time. So that's the thing, is that I have a degree in design. So I have an artist's eye and I have a design eye. That's something else. And if you have the design eye, you don't have to be an artist. As long as you have the eye, you can do it. And
especially if you can direct. Like, I'm pretty terrible at telling people how to do things. I usually say, jump in the pool and swim, and hopefully you will.
Oh, no. In fact, I give so much detail that my artists use my overviews to like send to their clients to show how to do it. Because I give extensive details with pictures and examples and stuff. But it also works best because, and then I also make them give me multiple steps. I always have them give me like sketches with like 2 or 3 different poses. Then I do another final sketch, then I'll do flat color, then I do final color. And some of them balk at that, but I'm like, but then don't complain if I come back to it and I tell you to change it after you finished it. Like, we could do it the easy way or the hard way. And trust me, this is annoying, but it's easier in the long run. And most of them don't fight me once they do it or work with me like for a while. It's it's just much easier to do it that way.
It also gives you a file system then of progress on imagery, especially when folks are very often quick to call something AI, to be able to say, look, this is the process the artist went through. It's legit.
Oh, yeah. Actually, half of my artists have TikToks, and they actually show themselves drawing it. Like
nice. That's great.
Form. Yeah, that one's actually really cool. I'm looking, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. You're drawing my art, and you can see him like drawing it and stuff. The art, you definitely need some art, but not always, because a lot of people do is they will use clip art, although that's getting more iffy because almost all the clip art now is AI. So you got to be really careful. Like literally 4 or 5 years ago, you can do that, and a lot of people did. It was very common. Like DM Dave, I think everything in DM Dave's was like.
Let me ask you a question. This is a philosophical question.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. You hire an artist, and you're like me, and you're just an idiot. You hire an artist. They produce a bunch of art for you. And you're like, this is great, and then you put it in your book, and you print, and then you get destroyed online because people say this is AI, and you say, no, it's not. I paid an artist to do this. And they said, okay, well, then your artist used AI to make this. Do you deserve the hate?
It depends. Okay. Whoa.
Right.
Let's back up. All art uses AI because all art uses filters. All art uses fills. All art uses...
we're not talking about the semantics. You know what I mean. I'm talking about somebody went to Midjourney and went... Or somebody went to Chat GPT or Claude and went...
Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you a secret. That is why you need to be an art director. I will tell you. This just happened.
I'm not.
I know, but I'm going to tell you... I'm going to tell you a secret. Wait.
You're right. So I should just put like blank pages and put cool art would be here, but I can't tell the difference.
Yes. You should do that.
I agree with Jaina. Only hand-delivered oil paintings. I'm only going to take work now in oils.
I have a whole bunch right over here. No, this is what happened.
It's going to be a lot more expensive.
I'll tell you a secret. All right. No, I'm going to tell you a secret. Okay, here's a secret. How you do that. I had an artist, and I gave them a very detailed overview of what I wanted them to do. They gave me something that was not even close. And I could tell it was AI. I knew it was. And I said, look, this isn't close. You need to match this. And here's my exact instructions. And they said, okay, no problem, blah, blah, blah. They sent it back to me. Nothing changed. And I was like, dude, you're obviously not doing this. You're obviously using AI. You obviously aren't following my instructions. And I literally took back the money. And I was like, I can't work with you because you lied. That's the secret. If so, for example, another example, this just happened
How is
today.
that the secret? You did not help me there at all.
Well, because I test them to see if they are using AI or not, because I don't use people that use AI. If that happens to you, then that's on you.
Look,
because,
I agree with you.
Yeah, no, that's on you.
If I had the ability to suss that out, I would. But I'm not, I'm not a graphic designer and I'm not an artist. Yeah. So when I see a cool picture, I go, that's pretty cool.
Well, you have to hire someone. Then you have to hire someone.
Didn't you notice the arm positioning? No real person would draw an arm like that. And I go, I don't know. I don't know shit.
That's why you need an art director.
Like until you can afford to hire an art director, you rely on friends and, hey, can you look at this? Can you look at this? Can you look at this? Do you see anything that's out of the way with it that would throw up any red flags? I mean,
but I'm just asking, do you, the creator, deserve the cancellation or the hate?
You can, yeah. If you're not, if you go out of your way to say it's not AI, then yeah, you do. If you don't go out of your way, then not really, because if you're not claiming it's not AI, then that's on them to assume.
I'm just saying, this is why I like Brian's approach of I just do it all. And
right. Yeah. Like I know where everything came from.
Yeah. But I asked, so for example, some more secrets of what I do, since I order everything. I ask for everything in layers, layered Photoshops, so that you can't do in AI. Not really. So and I mean not layered, not like 2 layers. We're talking about like some of these have like 100 layers.
Photoshop before, it's like everything is done in.
I mean, I get hundreds of layers. So, and to be honest, I can tell. I mean, I literally can just tell. And also, like this guy just gave me a piece of art this morning, and it was a folk, and his head was up, and I didn't like the way it was positioned. I said, "Can you redo it?" Move his head down, and like an hour later, he sends it to me, and the head's down. I'm like, obviously, it's not AI. It's like little things like that. I just know when I see it. I can't explain it. Like, I just know when it is AI.
But for somebody that doesn't have that background and doesn't have the art director, I would say until you can afford to, reach out to friends. I mean, so far, everything I've experienced in the RPG industry with professionals and up and comers is everybody wants to work together and wants to help each other out. So, Derek, for you, I would say, hey, Brian, will you look at this? Hey, and have a handful of people until you start to get to the sense. And in that process, I could be like, you know what, this and this and this is what I saw that threw me that, and this is what you can look for. And you'll learn through that experience to the point that you can do it yourself.
Yeah. And to be fair, when I started out, I did the same thing. I gave it to my Blizzard friends who do the art for Blizzard, and they found things that like, oh, his arm's position weird. Now, this was before AI blew up. This was years ago. But they would be like, oh, yeah, like reposition this, reposition that. And that was just like some helpful tips of, but dude, me.
So now I feel like being a real ass.
Yeah.
So, okay. What if an artist makes you and they send you all the layers and you get, the layers, and then you go, hey, I asked you to move that head. And then I go, yeah. And they go, when you did that, did you use content aware fill?
As I said, that is not a bad thing. That is part of Photoshop. But that's
we're getting very into the nitty-gritty
here. Well, you just said not to include that because I started saying that. I said content aware fill.
The original prompt was just straight out Mid-Journey. I just created this. Okay, now I'm taking it to the next level, which is they are using content aware move, content aware fill. They're using, smart select. They're using
because I use those all the time in my own pieces, just because. When I use it in very small areas, though. Like content aware fill and content aware select are not good unless you're using it in very tiny areas or like kind of flat colors or things that are easy to replicate. As you see those videos and it's like magic. That's not how it works, man. I mean, I use them all the time.
Sometimes it is, but
not on the stuff I'm doing, and I'll tell you why. The stuff it does really well at, for some reason, because I think it just has so much more content, is photos. Photos and anything realistic, it's extremely good. For art, like I have art that's being done with pen. No, it sucks because you can tell immediately because it gets the colors wrong. It gets the strokes wrong. It gets the aspect of the art wrong. So no, you can't use it for the type of art I do. But for a photo, yeah, it's fantastic. It works amazing for photos.
This only further reinforces me that going forward, I'm going to have to be like, I only take submissions in oil paintings.
Yes, I think you're right.
Well, it's not even oil painting because like my so John Statz, who's on my show, and the guy from Blizzard, he's an artist and he uses a Wacom. I mean, I don't know what you use, Brian, but he uses a Wacom for everything. So he literally draws everything in Photoshop. So there are lines, there's strokes, there's pressure. So you can see it. So
yeah, absolutely. And then also, a lot of people like me have moved away from the Adobe suite and are using the Affinity suite, which doesn't have those content aware fills yet.
Right. Yet. But yes, we actually, was it like last week or 2 weeks ago, we were going on about Adobe versus Affinity and all that other stuff.
We were
I stopped paying Adobe at the beginning of 2025. I'd been using Affinity for about 3 years already and had done so many books in it.
That's interesting. My step one is because I used to use Capture One instead of Lightroom, which is for photography. And then I do eventually want to one day learn how to use DaVinci Resolve. And like that will be like another big step, but it'll be a long time before I stop using like Photoshop.
Well, do what I do. I get the, by the way, here's a secret. Any of you have kids out there? Almost every piece of software, especially ones with subscription fees, there are student discounts. So I get the student discount fee for Adobe, and it's
what
like
I do, sign up my dog.
No, they require proof. They're actually pretty. Now it's all automated. It used to be like this whole thing. You'd have to send report cards and stuff. It's all automated now.
I will only say this in Adobe's defense. I'm not saying you need it, and you probably don't, but they do push a lot of new doodads.
They push a lot of new stuff, and a lot of it works really well. So, I mean, I don't use some. Well, I'm starting to use more of it though.
I don't know. The more like, even when I was doing graphic design and print and things like that, I would always have a hard time keeping up with all the new Adobe releases just because I was always in like push mode where you have deadlines.
I don't
so you
have time
just keep
to
falling
learn.
back on what you know instead of learning the new.
Of course.
Oh yeah, there was a time I remember I updated Premiere Pro and they had changed so much of it involving like the import and ingest media part of it. I downgraded because I was like, I don't have time right now. I don't want to bother to learn this and like stop changing everything. It's like Foundry, Stephen. Like, come on, just pick a version.
Oh, dude, don't talk to me about that. I'm like, come on, guys, stop. They're already talking about the version 14. I'm like, we just got 13 is just getting stable, guys. Come on, man. I mean, I talked to the development team, so to me, it's even worse. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna kill every one of you. Stop it.
So let me ask another question for you two. We're talking about print, right? We're print.
Yep.
And obviously more and more people are playing their games digitally, whether that be, they're basically just playing online or they're playing via like a VTT.
Sure.
And, I think I'm not even a game designer or a publisher, but like there've definitely been times when I've gotten books from well-known publishers where you had essentially a day 0 or a day 1 errata. Right, where people got the PDFs, which you get your PDF when the book ships, and everyone's like real excited, and then they get the PDF, they go, that's wrong on page 105, and like as a publisher, you have to be like I can't. It's like there's thousands of copies in the mail, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I played during the 4th edition era where they tried really hard to like. Hey, people are saying this feed is broken. Here's some errata. And then people were like, we fucking hate this. Stop giving us so much errata. But at the same time, what do you do? Just proud nail, it sucks. You're right, it was broken.
I already have this figured out. How do you do it, Brian? I know how my method's well known, but what's yours?
So far, there have only been a couple of places where there were just human error, where certain text blocks got truncated or little things like that, but most of it was salvageable. And I just put it out there that, hey, this happens and here's what the fix is. But it hasn't been anything major until like the current Kickstarter, which has new rules, but I made them all backwards compatible with a free PDF so that anybody that has the original books can have what the updated stuff is, but so that they don't have to keep spending money to get the new mechanics. But I've never really had any major erratas like that at this point. gonna knock on wood, but then it would make the microphone all loud and wonky. So, but I'd love to hear how you handle it, Stephen.
So I handle it when I consider the best way, but it's the longest way. So we put out the PDFs immediately when the PDFs are ready to go. So that's the first line of defense. And then we have people review it. Obviously, people who get it, they look at it, they, give us any errors or changes. We just came out with Living Legends. Living Legends, actually one very nice guy who I'm going to put in the book, just went through the entire book, literally, and went through every single page, and he found a whole bunch of things, all pretty small, some of them very tiny, like a double period here or missing a letter here, but he found them, and so we're going to make all those changes. Then the king of finding mistakes is that we put it through Foundry, because Foundry, it has to work correctly, and they find a lot of mistakes when we put it through Foundry. And then only after it goes through both processes, then it gets sent to the printer. So by the time it's sent to the printer, it's already gone through usually 3 or 4 versions of the PDF. And even then, I will delay it until the very last second before they print it. So it's been really good because almost all of our books have little to no erratas. And if they are, it's things like, oh, this period is wrong, or this sentence is missing a word. It's that level of errata. The erratas are incredibly minor.
Right. It's not anything that's going to drastically change the game, anybody's game experience at all.
No.
Yeah.
And although it does delay because it takes about 6 months. So it's like, oh, here's the PDF. You'll see the book in 6 months. Like, it's just kind of annoying, but I'm like, yeah, but at least you get a book that's perfect. And and I'm probably not going to reprint it unless it does amazing. So I want it done right the first time. And so, yeah, that's the way we do it. Also, why would I keep it? I mean, I understand professional companies like Paizo and WoTC, like, okay, they literally finish the book. Well, WoTC finishes the book. Oh, I know how far they finished. They finished their books almost like a year ahead of time. They finished their books really far, way far, like about a year.
I could not sit on anything for that long.
Yeah, how can you sit on it?
Right?
It's driving you crazy. Now, they also need time because then when the book comes out, everything's ready to go. They have D&D Online, D&D Beyond working. They have, all their digital tools are working. For me, I literally do, here's the PDF. The digital tools are next. Then the digital tools, then the hard copy. So I actually have them release as soon as they're ready. But, so there's advantages to both. The advantage is that we put it out as soon as it's ready and people don't have to wait. The disadvantage is that people, don't get everything right at once. So depends how you want to look at it. So anyhow, I kind of like the way we do it. And more people are doing it this way. When I first started doing this, it was kind of unheard of, but now I'm like, I always do it. And now I think I'm seeing more and more people are doing it this way. So
is Foundry the only VTT that you put your work on right now?
Well, no, we put it on others, but here's the thing is, we're on Roll20, but the Roll20, there's a lot of issues with Roll20 because you can't update it as well and stuff. And they take like a big cut and everything. I do want to get more on Fantasy Grounds, but I have no one. I cannot find a single person
developer for that. Yeah.
I cannot find a single developer. I've been looking for years. If anyone wants to do Fantasy Ground development, please let me know. I don't know. I ask them. I ask Fantasy Grounds, like, how can you find? They're like, we don't know. I'm like, really? You guys can't get me a developer? It's like, come on.
3% of the market.
Well, that's the thing, but a lot of Pathfinder people play it. Foundry. We are the only ones larger than us is WoTC and Paizo, and that's it. I mean, we're the largest third-party developer on Foundry, so that's why we're on Foundry.
Gotcha. Yep.
We're literally in the top. Like they just put out their last year top selling modules and everything. I mean, I kind of wish they did this before Paizo came on board at WoTC because we would have been nothing there. We're at the top 25. We're like number 22 and number 23, but then everything above us is only WoTC and only Paizo, and that's it.
Wow.
And then we're right below. Where I'm like, damn it, take those off because we would be right up there. But yeah, so
it's still good bragging rights.
Yeah, and Foundry, it's done in HTML. And that's my bread and butter.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
I can go in and just, again, it's like, what do I know? I'm like, well, I know HTML, I know CSS, I know, like, I can go in and, oh, there's a mistake. And this happens all the time. Like someone will say, Steve, there's a mistake in it. We will literally, we'll put that on a patch that night. Like we'll fix it that fast.
So do you do your own coding for that since you're no HTML, CSS?
We have 10 developers that work with us. Most of them are actually the core Foundry team, and they do most of the work. I do the CSS and I do the layout because that's my bread and butter.
Sure.
And I will help them find bugs, and I will help them, like, just because I know coding, I'll go in and debug and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But these guys are really good. And to be honest, they've been doing it now for so long that they're experts. Like in the beginning, it was a little touch and go when we started with like Foundry 8 or something. But Foundry is so advanced now, and these guys write the code that for the new features. So in fact, there's a new feature, Derek, that is being added for Starfinder, because Starfinder has a thing where you can basically mod your weapons. And then we're going to use that for monster parts and for also the Eldamon. So
Very
like,
cool.
so they add features, and then we're like, oh, we're going to use that for this, and then we go back and rewrite our modules because we know the features. So,
but see, you're just highlighting here like how many different hats you have to wear. So it's like,
I have to wear 10,000 hats.
Because like originally it's like, oh, I love role playing games and I like making house rules. It's like, yes, but have you considered your proficiency in art design and whether or not you can snuff out AI being used? What about your ability to write in HTML and CSS and make sure that you can work with a team of programmers? Because now you get to be a freaking PM. Working out of,
wait. Let me tell you all the hats I wear. So this one, Mark is in charge of game design.
Hang on, wait a second. Derek, are you keeping track? I want to can we go count by count?
Well, Brian does. I want to see what Brian does. I mean, Brian does as many as I do, if not more. Brian probably does even more.
I'm curious to see where we align and where we overlap and where we splinter off.
All right, keep track. So Mark he manages all the freelancers. Writing freelancers. He does all the management of the writing. He does all the first pass of the editing. He manages all the 5e developers as well. He's now also manages all the Shadowdark developers. And he basically is the front line between all the writers. And so he works on that. He takes care of all of that. He also comes up with the he comes up with a lot of the art direction, and the reason he comes up with the art direction is because he knows the mechanics for how these creatures work. So he has to tell me, I don't know, what a new ancestry will look like, because he has to tell me, okay, these ancestries will have these heritages, therefore here's what the art looks like. So he writes all that. And he also does a lot on Reddit. He loves Reddit, so he's on Reddit more than I'm never on Reddit. He is Mr. Reddit, so he's our official spokesperson on Reddit. And he's a lot on Discord. I do everything else. So everything else is I do all the art direction, I do all the business aspects. I deal with obviously all the art direction. I come up with the ideas for all the books. I come up with the schedules. I deal with the printers. I do all the layout. I do all the design. I do all the editing, the final pass of the editing for all the text for everything. I said I deal with the printers. Oh, I deal with the warehouse. I deal with fulfillment. I deal with conventions and dealing with that stuff. I deal with obviously hiring and dealing with convention aspects, although Derek's been very helpful on all that. He actually has been really great. We obviously doing this show. I manage most of the show. I mean, Mark helps out when he can. Now he's finally got a kind of decent setup. It took him long enough. He just needs a real background. So the things I don't do directly is I don't do art directly. I do the HTML. I do the CSS. I do all the Foundry. Mark does nothing on Foundry because that's all HTML. That's all web development, and that stuff I know inside out. So I do all that. So yeah, if you can do, and I work 20 hours a day, and that's no joke. People ha ha ha. No, really. I mean, this is all I do. This is all I do. But I love it. I mean, you know what? My other friends are bored. They're sitting around watching TV and watching movies and watching shows endlessly, and I'm like, that sounds horrible to me. That sounds like a nightmare. People are talking about, I know friends that are retiring now, and I'm like, retiring? What's that word? Retire? I don't know.
Would you ever slow down? There's so much more to make.
That's why I'm releasing more. By the way, the Guardians just had a home run, and they're leading 2-1.
It's so weird. So much of their games are just like in the middle of the weekday or middle of the day. But
Well, because East Coast to West Coast, that's why. Because there's West Coast games, so they have to put them later. Anyhow, so that's how much I have to do is everything.
With the printing, do you do traditional offset printing or do you do digital printing?
No, we do traditional offset, and we do in China. The digital printing, I don't like the quality, and it's subtle. And as I said, probably 99% of people won't notice it, but I notice it immediately. And I also do, things like this, like with UV color, gold. Gold edging.
Yeah, but the gold on there that's going to be foil stamping, right?
Yeah, that's foil stamping. Yeah. So and when we have UV code on here, so we'll do a lot of very special. Also, the paper I use, I use very high stock paper. You just can't get that extra glow. In fact, I was just talking to I won't say who I was talking to, but I was talking to a very large publisher, and they were trying out digital printing, and it was a disaster, and they're switching back only because all their other books are not digital. And that's the problem, is that people were like, why aren't these books the same? Because it's they can tell because it didn't quite feel the same as their other books. And they're like, and that's the problem. Once you go down one path, you can't, if you start one way and you keep all your books the same, it's okay. But if you start offset and then you go to digital, it's going to feel a little slicker. It's like the ink isn't quite the same, and people notice right away, and then I
was just more curious, how much actual trapping and things like that you have to do on your books when you're releasing those to the printer, or if the printer is supposed to that.
But I do, but my printer is insanely good, and quite frankly, one of my majors in college was printing, and I've been doing printing since '88. So this stuff is beyond second nature to me. I don't even pay attention to it. I don't even know I'm doing it. It's like breathing.
So you hear it here, folks. You got if you want to become a role-playing game designer, you first got to be your entire life working in a print shop in a degree that you can no longer get, in a career that no longer exists, so that you have the background necessary.
Session
pretty
over.
Much. Pretty much. But
well, that's where a lot of people run into problems, right? They do these Kickstarters, they get this grand idea. And then they realize they fucking got to make it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wow.
Well, I mean, and with that, I'm very much in the Borg space, and I give advice to a lot of people launching their first Kickstarters, launching their first scenes. And I don't know, I usually have at least 2 video calls a week with up and coming folks, just giving folks advice on how to get through things, experiences I've had, things that I've learned, and things to avoid learning. And I think, if you meet somebody at a convention or you meet somebody online with this, usually there's folks that are willing to kind of help you out so that you don't stumble quite as often with bigger projects.
Wasn't that the I don't remember the name of it, but there was a company, I've seen them at some of the conventions, that they've been trying to promote. They're like an alternative to Kickstarter.
There's
a
Game
lot
Founder Backer Kit.
Yeah, maybe Game Founder, not Backer Kit, but I think it's Game Founder. The ones where they custom cherry pick your project, but then they
There's a lot of those out there.
They just did that for RPGs because they've primarily been a board game heavy. Actually, Vaskrim was the very first RPG to crowdfund on GameFound in July of 2021.
Okay.
But at the time, almost all of their audience was board game folks.
Board games, okay.
And it's because it was started by the people that make Nemesis board game, very miniature heavy game.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, they came to me.
Right, but I'm just saying, these secondary companies did exist where they basically said, "Hey, we'll help you in theory with the process," right? Rather than I don't know how helpful Kickstarter actually is.
No, they're not.
I think they're a little too big to help out all the little folks. They put on webinars.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the crazy part is that Brian is one person with friends. I am 2 people with friends. It's we are doing everything ourselves. In the old days, and I love whenever I read those accounts of TSR in the early days. They had 20 people doing the job that we're now doing,
Cost of living was a lot lower, right? So when you made money on stuff, you could pay people and they could afford to eat a little bit,
Not if you read, TSR, they were making, right? No, the guys at TSR were so poor in the early days that they were like living in the offices because they had or their cars because they had nowhere to live.
Right. I
mean,
think the general understanding I had is that most gamers were just so delighted with the idea that they get to work for TSR, that they were willing to accept basically minimum wage to go live in frickin' Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, just so that you could be like, I get to work on D and fucking D.
Well,
like that was
totally.
That's why I left MTV and because think about how many people want to get into Hollywood. So so many people want to get into Hollywood. So every single job in Hollywood pays not even living wage. It's like absolute garbage. So it's like you either make nothing or you make a fortune and that's it. There's nothing in between.
Right, but at least in theory with Hollywood, you're like, this could lead to something bigger.
Correct.
D&D was the top.
And it already was, and it was garbage except for like garbage. 3 people.
Yeah, so like, you're just taking advantage of people. All right. Guards up by 2 now.
They were. I said that the Guardians are up 3-1 now.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the but not everyone, because Kelsey is she's interesting because she does her own layout. She writes everything, and her wife helps out with some of the art design and layout, but she does everything else herself pretty much. So like, I guess she does a lot, but she also.
So what you're saying is RPG design is for control freaks. It's for
totally.
Yes.
Total control freak here. I mean, that's why I'm
at least right? Yeah, right. No, right. Yes. So
we are control
little side tangent. But we run these on Night's Last Call. We run these mega games, and the idea is that we put a bunch of GMs together, and they kind of co-work in a space with a bunch of different players, and players can play with all these different GMs. So it's like one campaign, 10 GMs, 20 GMs, and 80 players. But there's this level above the GM that we usually call the council or the overlord, and their job is to sort of provide structure to the entire game. And GMs don't like being told, what to do. No. Because they're like, no, the reason I GM is because I want whatever I say to go. I don't want any I don't want your rules or your restrictions. I just want to be able to make it up. And
totally.
No, that's actually, there's a good joke. Do you know what the difference between God and a GM is?
What's that?
God is just an NPC.
I was going to say some people actually like God. That was going to be what I was going to say.
But he was like a God. They're just NPC. I'm God.
Right. Which is funny because as a GM, my primary goal is to disclaim decision making. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It should all be about the players.
I want my players to do everything. Yes. Like I said, I'm very famous for being like very like stern and like ranty, where I go, another game, like frustrating. Another game where I, as the GM, have to roll dice. Like, I'm just like, I'm so over it. I don't even want to roll dice.
Oh, yeah. I would much rather have the players roll all the dice. And, if their 100%. Character dies, it's on them.
If he dies, he dies. Edward, super chat. Slightly related. I saw you had Nimble 2 a few episodes back, Stephen. How did you come by it or to it? And what did you think? It's really cool. Evan made it by himself.
I know.
And look, Stephen, without your help,
you got a free copy.
Somebody sent me a copy.
Well, I ordered it, and then Evan wrote me, and he goes, "Why'd you order this? I would have sent it to you." And then he gave me all this free stuff. He's like, "I was so surprised. I saw your order come in today," and I was like, and then he sent me like everything he has in a nice little note. And I sent that. Oh wait, the note is, where's my note? It's right over here. And then I sent a picture to Derek, and Derek was pissed.
I was not pissed.
You were like, "Oh come on," or something like that. I don't remember.
Well, no, I was pissed because I was like, I finally got something,
okay. Well,
for free, and he had to one up me. So
I didn't one up you. I did it before you got your stuff.
Yeah,
you one up me. What are you talking about? Here it is.
Joe. We know about Symbaroum.
Of course, it's
Joe. We know about Symbaroum.
I actually haven't had time to read it because I've been traveling endlessly. I was in North Carolina last week. And then, I literally came back and I've been working, and then tomorrow, and then I got to go to Pittsburgh. So I haven't had time to really look at anything. And
well, now, okay.
Yeah.
Another question for you, because you actually bring up a really good point. We were, Brian was talking about his carny lifestyle, and obviously I know you're a very busy man, Stephen. And then I think about my own reflections. Okay. And this came up the other day in a conversation because somebody was just like, wow, Derek, this is so cool. Your job laid you off in April, so you don't have to work anymore. You don't have to work anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to work anymore. Let me tell you, no one has to work.
Right.
If you don't really want to.
Right. It's like the line from Office Space. It's like, well, you don't need $1 million to do that. I got a brother-in-law. He's broke. Don't do shit. So, but they're like, this must be so amazing to you. You went to PAX, to Origins, to PAX, to Gen Con, and you had the whole summer and you get this gaming channel. You must be doing so much gaming.
Nope.
And I'm like, nope. I
Not
am
at
not.
all.
And I'm like, not at all.
But we had fun in different
we had
ways.
fun,
Yes.
but we had
ways.
like
Mhm.
we had like desperate, the halls finally closed fun, like
Right.
like, oh God, it'll be nice to just eat something that didn't come from the $27 Subway, but like it's even kind of my concern, but like one of the things that's like, I always see these designers and they come into this game and then they go, wow, look at them. They've, especially designers that have played a lot of other games and they're inspired by them. I love when I see, this game was inspired by Fate and by Year Zero engine and whatever, all these other different in-sources and stuff like that. I'm like, that's amazing. That's great. That's probably what led to you being so inspired and to create this amazing game. And then their game comes out and they go, well, I don't play RPGs anymore. So where does the inspiration come from once you're into the pipeline, right?
Actually,
Because if you're not playing the games and you're not being exposed to them, how do you get new ideas? Where does
well, Brian, I want to hear your answer because see,
Sure.
I don't do any of the writing. So I know my answer. My answer is easy.
Well, and mine would probably be very different from yours, Stephen, because even though you don't watch TV or movies, I still consume everything.
Let me rephrase that. I watch endless TV and endless movies, but I haven't been watching a lot of new stuff.
Gotcha.
Because it's garbage and I can't pay attention. So like I'm watching
So you have to have it on the background on a second
monitor. It's always on. I have it on.
I'm watching something else right now.
I'm watching the Guardians right now. I'm watching the Guardian game. I'm always watching. My TV's always on. I'm watching Peacemaker right now. But like people are like, oh, did you watch New Alien Earth? I'm like, no, because that's what I heard it was garbage. So I'm like, unless it gets good reviews, I don't have time for garbage.
Whereas
anymore.
literally the last season of a television show I watched was the last season of Game of Thrones.
Wow.
And at that time. That I didn't have HBO. I had I went over to a buddy's house to watch specifically Game of Thrones.
It was an event, right?
I wasn't watching anything else. I think the last time I seriously watched a television show, like I haven't had Netflix since like 2018. I don't have a television.
Yep.
Like the only movies I go to see are like we go to see the Marvel movies still because it's just a thing that my friends and I have been doing for the past 20 years. I have completely stopped absorbing media, and I'm worried because I also don't read as much new fantasy. Like I've probably reread Lord of the Rings more times in the last 10 years than I have read an actual new novel. Because whenever I start to read a new novel, I go,
So no, let me rephrase that. Guards are up 6-1. So anyhow, I think that game's over. Let's switch over to the other one. It's still in the 8th inning. I do consume huge amounts of media, but unless it's something like Severance or Peacemaker or like something like that's really in the geek meta universe culture, I kind of ignore it as opposed to the old days where I watched everything. But also keep in mind in the 80s and the 90s, like it was like Xena's on, yay! Like it was like that was
there
it.
Were fewer
like,
options too.
Oh, there was
like
nothing.
There wasn't.
Yeah, there was nothing. Now it's like everything is geek culture, and to be honest, 99% of it is absolute shit, and it's garbage compared to what we grew up with, And I'm like, I
think perceptions change as we get older too. I think if going back and watching some of that stuff, it's not the best.
Every single night, you know what I watch? I watch Star Trek: Next Generation, then Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager, and then Enterprise. Enterprise is all right,
but you pick some winners. There's a lot of stuff from the time period that isn't so great.
Right. You noticed that you skipped over like Andromeda. And
it's not on. It's not on. But you know what?
I'm just saying.
You're right. But Andromeda and all those shows, they get filtered out automatically because I can't find them. And I'm watching these shows. Stargate's on. I watch Stargate all the time.
I am an unapologetic fan of Captain Dylan Hunt and the Starship Andromeda. Okay,
I only saw it once.
Not many people know that show, and you know what? And it's for the better that they don't.
Yeah. Keep in mind also, like, we don't want to go down this path because, like, I studied film. I studied, like, to me also, I'm looking at script development. These scripts, like, I can literally watch a show and 99% of the time figure out what's going to happen because scripts have a very specific cadence to them. So, right. And, like, to me, it's like, and a lot of these shows I'm watching, like Peacemaker is a good example. Dude, that guy, like, Gunn is a genius because he does not go by. He actually makes his own, and like Dan Harmon and stuff, like, they actually have their own methods that don't exist in standard structure. They use standard structure, but then they turn it on its head. And that's why these guys are so popular, is because people are in the know, like, really know their stuff. And also, they're like, oh my God. Anyhow, look, and Severance is another good example. Andor, another good example. Like, I could go on and on about this. So back to what you were saying.
Right. Where do we get our inspiration from?
Yes.
Right.
Well, especially, but even outside of that, like, from a role playing, and again, this is me. This is my foolish naivete, and I'm not casting aspersions, I hope, on people. But if there are people who make games, and some of them do very well, and their pedigree is, I played D&D 5th edition, and that the knee-jerk reaction from me is, oh man, you like, if I heard about a director who made a movie and they're like, yeah, I don't watch movies, like, whereas, like, every great director that I know of is like, not just a student, but they are like obsessed with film,
they consume it all the time,
and they consume it all the time, and they're watching the classics, and they know it, and they're so I sometimes wonder, I worry, that's like, okay, let's say I go and make a game. It's like, well, even now, just being in the YouTube creator space, it's harder for me to play games because I'm busy. When I go to these conventions, it's to work a booth, it's to network,
right.
It's not to sit down in the game hall and grind games and try out new stuff. I used to, because I think about, well, arguably, what has made me successful on YouTube is I spent the better part of 15 years, 20 years going to Gen Con and going to things like Indie Games on Demand and going to all these things and learning all about all these games, and then bringing all that wealth of experience and giving it to people here in the last couple of years. But now, if I'm going to Gen Con, now I'm not doing that. So what's the future state of that, right? Have I closed myself off?
Gotcha. Yeah. That's part of the reason, like, that I started hosting a local meetup game night, like a 5-minute walk from me, because I needed to force myself to run games, because otherwise I was like, I'm just as happy to just keep working through the night, working on a project that I've got a deadline on. But this forces me to go and run games. I run my game, but then also one of the nights a month, I usually run a different game. And it's usually something random that I've backed on Kickstarter that I, want to understand the mechanics better, want to understand the gameplay. And so that maybe I'll learn something from that to then throw into something I write in the future.
All right. So here's my answer. First, I watch.
I'm playing Pathfinder 2 again.
Well, I play Pathfinder every week, and I've been playing role-playing games every week for 50 years. So
fantastic. I wish I had
that. And every week, like every single week we play whenever possible. And I used to play 2 days a week. In fact, I'm trying to start up a Starfinder game, Derek, if you want to play, maybe. A small one, not a long one, small one, because I know you want to try Starfinder. I kind of want to try Starfinder too. Anyhow, so I still play. I also watch the show called Knights of Last Call, who is very good at keeping me in the know of the latest games and mechanics, because someone else does all the work for me.
There you go. That's a great answer. The answer is I watch Knights of Last Call because that loser does all the work for me.
That's correct. And you laugh, but it does. I also watch like Quinn's Quest, and he does a really good job. Like, so you can get, again, like, so, okay, I've been programming and coding since I was like 7 years old. I know so many computer languages I've forgotten more than I know. You can learn a computer language so quickly because they're all based on the same methodologies. All computer languages are based on the same structure, the same methodologies. It's just the language itself is slightly different. So once you know one and you know 10 languages, learning your 11th is pretty damn easy. I hate to say it. It's like, if you've been playing games your entire life.
You say that.
a lot of
But-
these games use the same mechanics, and not all
You
of them
say
do.
that,
Yes,
but I've seen, in fact, sometimes I've made the comment, I've made the observation that somebody comes in and go, "Oh, I started playing, AD&D during like the '90s, and then we
yeah, but
played
I didn't
third
just play
edition."
AD&D. I played everything.
No, I know, but
I
then,
played
then you go,
everything.
and then you go, okay, here we're going to go play Wanderhome, or we're going to go play Chubo's Marvelous Wish Granting Engine, or we're going to go play The Fall of Magic, or we're going to go play.
Well,
and they go,
as long as I don't have to
and they're
GM them, I'm fine.
what is this? What is this
Yeah,
even a
but that-
game? Like, what is happening?
That is not
To
happening.
say nothing
'cause
of like a Powered by the Apocalypse game.
that has
or
not
at
happened
least
to me
there-
because I watched Derek, so I've seen them all, and I do go to conventions and I do try to play every game at least once, perhaps twice, just to get the feel of how they play. I don't need to play a whole campaign. I can just sit and do a 2-hour starter session, have a GM for me. I get the idea, and then I see the mechanics, and I can figure out the rest.
So, yeah,
But when it comes to actually writing it, I don't write it, man. That's why I hire Jessica Redicop. That's why I hire professional TTRPG writers. That's why Mark does what he does. He finds the people who their job is to stay on top of this and come up with the mechanics and the ideas. And that's Mark's full-time job. Mark has to play everything. Mark has to be on top of that. He has to be on top of the zeitgeist. I do not. I have to be aware of it, but I don't have to be on top of it. Mark has to be on top of it, and he is.
So then, Brian, what do you do? Because you don't have a chief of game design.
Well, luckily, I'm in a pretty isolated bubble of game mechanics. Like the ecosystem of the games that I write are all pretty it's a small community. So even as little things are coming up, like there's new mechanics that Zach and his team introduced in Raptor Ruckus, which was a Jurassic Park inspired Borg hack. And through that, I'm taking
Raptor Ruckus?
Raptor Ruckus. Yeah,
that sounds
it
great.
just closed out 2 weeks ago. I'm actually going to be Creature Curation is going to be publishing it. So I'm moving into more publishing of other people's stuff as well, because Zach's part of the Limithron Pirate Board team, and he doesn't have time to deal with distributors and representing it at conventions and stores and things like that. So yes, so I'm learning from mechanics that they build and seeing one of the things that I like that's not in the Borg system is a consumables die. So because board games are so light, keeping track of things doesn't really fit in with the normal flow of things. So depending on how much battery an item would use in Vastgrim, like a pulse rifle versus a blaster, the die would be affected differently. So every time you use it, you roll it. If you get a 1, that battery drained out, but it did max damage. So I'm pulling some things from other people within my little ecosystem. And then the other books, I get a bunch of other things that I back on Kickstarter and I read, but I don't always get to get them to the table.
I read a lot too.
Knock is probably my favorite periodical in the RPG space, just because there's so many different ideas from so many people in that bric-a-brac.
And this sounds weird, but I play a ton of games on Board Game Arena. I'm a huge board gamer, and it's not the same, but I actually think in a weird way that's better, because board games, I'm always still you can play 1,000 board games, and yeah, you might know the gist, but every game is always different. Every game, okay, it's a worker placement game, but otherwise everything else is different about the game. But by playing so many other types of games, I feel that just helps. Whether you're playing video games or board games or TTRPGs, just being in the gaming sphere and being exposed to new mechanics and methods, I think is just helpful.
I agree. I think you can get inspiration from a lot of different sources. In fact, a lot of times when I'm postulating ideas, I'll stake stuff from board games and Magic the Gathering. In fact, if anything, that probably does tend to lean my design a little bit more gamist, right? Because those mechanics tend to be a lot more discrete and less whatever narrative or simulationist. But it's interesting you said something, because you said I can usually play a game once. Now, one of my many hot takes that I make a lot of times is I say I don't like one shots. I don't as a player, I don't really like playing them. As a GM, I don't really like playing them. Obviously, that's the price of entry, especially at a convention, almost by definition. But I've often made the comment that I've met and seen a lot of people who say, "Oh, I played the game once, I got it. It wasn't for me." And I often wonder, the games are so nuanced and there's so much involved in them. Not to mention, some of the games are quite lengthy, and there's numerous mechanics, and there's a play pattern, there's a cycle, especially in role-playing games, that oftentimes doesn't reveal itself in just a single 3-hour session. So as people who make games, like, do you think that if someone sat down and they played Vast Grim and they played it a one-shot, do you think that they say, and they go, yeah, I played a one-shot, not for me, do you think that is enough of a valid point? Like, do you think that they can get a full taste for it in one shot?
Yes and no. Part of it is, it really depends on who's running the game.
Sure.
And which one shot they're playing. Like, I've written a couple of things that are specifically meant to give you the full scope of the tone and vibe of the entire game within that one session. And, you know, sometimes splatterpunk, gross, funny, weird isn't for people. And you could definitely, like, if that's not for you, you'd know that this is not your type of game. Right. But if it's not one of the games that's intentionally made to, like, let people know there is, like, this hive mind alien zombie, like, species that's taking over everyone, that people are getting infected with these worm parasites. Like, there's lots of things that they might not get out of a single session. Like, I think I did that. I've only played Mothership once, and I played it, and after playing it once, that one session, I didn't think it was probably for me, but I have never gotten a chance to play it again, just because I usually always run all my games. And so, but I know there's tons of people that love it, so I probably would love it. I just haven't had the time to actually sit down and play it.
Right. No, agreed.
Well, also, I'm looking at it from a different point of view, because I'm looking at it from a pure mechanics point of view, as opposed to who you're playing with, the feel, the lore. Like, you know, I hate to say it, but, like, that stuff, it's
That's
very.
all I want.
What's that?
That's all I want. I just want the
no, that's what I want. Trust me, but it's actually, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like there's games. Well, the whole Borg thing is that the game mechanics and the lore and the feel are all combined into one.
Let's be very clear something about here. The reason that the Borg, you know, ecosystem works is because if it works for you, that the sum is much greater than the parts, right? Like if the actual elements of it, you know, it's like 1 + 1 + 1, you know,
right. And then
but
you're done.
If it works for you, it equals 8, right? And that you can get a lot of juice for that squeeze, right? And that's why I think people are really attracted to it, because there's some sort of synergistic effect that happens between the overlap of the mechanics and the lore. Taken individually and on their own, you might say, well, there's not really that much mechanics here, you know. There's really not a whole lot of chewiness here. But when they work together, you get this synergistic effect, and suddenly people are going, I don't know what that was, but man, that was really fun, you know. And that's when they go, wow, there's something about this game. There's something about this this kind of concept.
Okay, so this actually is a little interesting. So we do everything. Until very recently, I only do Pathfinder and D&D. So I just need to know what's going on in the world of Pathfinder and D&D. I can play other games to get ideas, but as long as I know what's going on in those two worlds, I'm set. Now we're doing Shadowdark, and Shadowdark is kind of a Borg-like in that there's a lot of feel to it and a lot of gist. But I also have the advantage of working with, Kelsey, you know, right. The person who freaking wrote the game. So I'm able to find out from the person who literally designed it how it should feel and like what her takes are on things, you know, and to get her ideas. And that's something else is that, you know, it's like writing, you know, I'm working on a Lord of the Rings game. Let me just call up JRR and see what he thinks. Right. You know, I'm like, this is the advantage of this hobby, is that we can literally, or at least I do, is I talk to, Mark, he wrote Pathfinder 2nd edition, more or less.
Right.
You know, it's easy. I know we're doing the right stuff. The people I work with 5e, these guys, 5e guys, are like the best in the business who write endless books. You know, I'm working with Kelsey. You know, I'm working with people that are as close to the original source as humanly possible. So that's, you know, I mean, and obviously Brian's writing his own game, so he is the source, you know, I mean. And
I try to be as available on my Discord as possible to answer anybody's questions, anything I mean, hopefully people take it and make their own things out of it and do what they want. But if they want anything specific, I'm always willing to weigh in, usually within a couple hours or a day if I'm traveling.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, we were talking beforehand about Fabula Ultima, and they're doing a Kickstarter which is doing really well. And that designer is perennially online, in his Discord, just answering people's questions and sort of trying to help them sort of solve an issue of it. But then again, this is another problem for me. See, I'm of the belief, like you can have fun wrong. I'm like, oh, you're using my game? And they're like, yeah, we did this. We had a great time. And I go, that sounds amazing. Doesn't sound like you're playing my game though.
As long as you're having a good experience,
I care.
I don't.
It doesn't
care.
affect you in any way, shape, or form.
It does. I don't know why.
I'll give yourself another 5 or 10 years, then you won't care anymore.
Then I'll be jaded and burnt
You'll be
out.
like me. You'll be like,
did you buy it or did you pirate it? You bought it? Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Well,
I've got black and white rules online for free for everybody to play. Yeah, go. More people playing my game, as long as it's close. If people are having fun, if people are having a good experience around a table or around a digital table together, what more can you ask for?
Yeah. So it's funny because I've had this problem in my real life. And I this has happened numerous times throughout the course of my life. But one time that really stood out to me.
That sounds like a you problem.
It is a problem. It is a me problem. I was sitting in a coffee shop and there was 2 young ladies sitting near me, and they were opening up Magic the Gathering cards. They were learning to play.
Oh boy, trigger.
Okay? And they were playing, and they seemed to be having fun. They were figuring it out, but they were playing completely wrong, right? And I even, my brain engine could even say, like, where I'm like, the way that they're playing is going to create a very specific problem, which is going to really manifest itself and will probably lead to their ejection from what could have been an incredible hobby for them. And I was really torn because who am I to come up to a bunch of strangers and say, hey, it looks like you guys are having fun. You're doing that wrong. Versus me having this like broader cosmic responsibility, right? With great power comes great responsibility to say like, let me explain why the play pattern that you are creating by following the rules wrong will endemically create a problem that you will lead to you not liking this game.
So you're mansplaining?
And I didn't also independent of that, I didn't want to be a mansplainer. So like obviously,
so in the end, what did you end up doing?
I bit my tongue, but I had to leave because I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it be played incorrectly.
Funny,
and the reason I bring
thing.
and that's a Magic the Gathering experience, but I see this all the time, like with like Dungeon World and like people playing it. Like,
but there's no wrong way to play TTRPG.
Yes,
supposedly.
there is.
Oh, I know. I completely agree with you. There is a wrong way, but people make the rules whatever you want.
There is definitely a wrong way to play RPGs. But I'll see people playing Dungeon World, and I'll hear people's experience with PBTA games, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I don't like PBTA games." I'm like, "Explain it to me," and they're like, "Blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, they ran that terribly. Oh, you were not even close to playing that game." So I don't know.
That's totally fair. But at the same, I feel like there's a lot more leeway with RPGs than there are with a card game like Magic. Like things can be interpreted much, at least a little looser. I know you guys don't agree with me on this.
No. But that's a great point. But right, like, because I mean, that's why Gary wrote Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, because he recognized that people were making up money, but the pet. Listen, there could be two conflicting interests.
Right? They can both be the same. They're like,
but what Gary,
money and more money.
Yeah, money and more money. But what Gary said was that he was, he saw that people had taken D&D, which he viewed as an incomplete rule set, and they were creating very different experiences. So that D&D on the West Coast was different than D&D in the Midwest, was different than D&D in the East Coast. And he said, and I don't think that's going to be good for the longevity of this nascent hobby. I think that it works best if we all can kind of agree to this central core set of rules. And I still think that problem sort of emerges and sort of indicates to itself. There are people who when I did my Pathfinder 2 APs on my channel, would just be almost mad at me because I didn't do the rule right. And I invalidated the game because I chose to do something differently. So there's still this issue today.
Did you ever see the movie The Founder, Eric?
I don't think I have. No.
Okay. First of all, you should see it. It's fantastic. It is Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc, and it's about
then I have seen it.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was the name of it. Yes.
Yeah, The Founder.
How he steals the McDonald's from the McDonald's.
Well, the thing is that so he actually starts to franchise McDonald's. Right. And there's a part where he actually gives it to his friends, and he goes to check them out. And they're selling, he's like furious because they're selling stuff that is not supposed to be on the menu. because he's like, this is not what you know. It's like your McDonald's has to be the same. They all have to be the same. And they're like, who cares? We don't have to do that. We were going to do whatever the heck we want. And it's because this stuff is better. They're selling, like, one of the McDonald's was selling barbecue and stuff. And that's where they comes up with the genius idea, is that they end up becoming landlords.
Right.
And then they say, oh, don't own the McDonald's, own the land.
You
And
know
then
Bob, right? You know my buddy Bob from my channel. He's an architect. And what his firm, one of the accounts that his firm handles is pretty much all the McDonald's in a in the 3-state area. And he basically has his hand on all of those. And guess what? They're all the same.
Right. But that's the point, is like, you're like that. It's like, no, you're all doing it wrong. So you have to figure out a way. But let me tell you something. There is a way to do that.
I think there's a way to do that when you're doing it with organized play. There's a way to do it when you're doing convention appearances. And like, I'm currently writing style guides essentially for how everything is presented in those fashion. But you can't control what somebody's doing at a games shop that's across the country. That
I can try, Brian. I can try.
Everything going digital is causing this to happen.
Oh,
because if you think about it, this actually is a big thing on D&D Beyond. It's that when they actually take away the opportunity to change things, people have been freaking out because they don't like it, because they're like, oh, I don't like that. It's like, well, too bad. This is the way it is. And you know what? It's becoming more like a board game, which we've talked about, Derek.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because I've seen people, I'm guilty of this, where I was like, I was going to run a Legend of the Five Rings game on VTT. And the way that the VTT was built, the dice roller was basically automated, right? How convenient.
Right.
Well, in my Legend of the Five Rings game, I use a house rule where I allow you to keep an extra die if your skill is of a certain rank. Well, that wasn't in the VTT. And I can't reprogram the VTT. And since we basically are stuck in that, using that system, I was like, I guess I can't use my house rule. I guess we just have to use whatever the real rule is, because that's what's hard coded into it, which is another reason why I hate VTTs. But you're right that, it's like in D&D Beyond, it's like, oh, I've got a bunch of house rules. And someone goes, is it on D&D Beyond? And they go, no. And they go, I'll just take the feats that are on D&D Beyond. I'll just use the stuff that's official and is available.
Give it another 20 years and it's literally only going to be one rule set, because books are going to become like an endangered species, or it's going to be something that is just for fun, not actually used.
I hope not. I just got a printer.
Well, I said, the funny thing is, when I was a print major in college, and one of the things is like the second largest part of the GDP at this time was printing, which makes sense, because think about it. Think about how many things are printed in this world, especially back in the 80s, like everything. So
everything that's online now had to be printed basically.
Well, basically, like, think of every single thing in the entire world that's online. It used to be print. Everything. There used to be these things called magazines back in the day.
Well, I remember how I'm not that old, I guess I am old now, but like, I remember how ubiquitous newspapers were.
Oh yeah, everyone in the newspaper, everything was printed
everywhere. You'd go into a coffee shop in the morning, and there'd be 20 people with newspapers over.
That's all they did. Well, newspapers were the web back then.
As a kid, I had a paper route, I had a local paper. Yeah.
I did Newsday.
But I think actually, though, what I think is going to happen is print is going to become the new collector's edition.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And getting something tangible.
Right.
It's going to be like that scene from Waterworld, where the guy's like, paper. Have you ever seen real paper?
Well, it already is.
Oh my God, you could touch it, you could feel it.
That's look, a lot of people do, but I know my sales, and my sales are vast majority are digital, like vast majority.
I still love that tangible. I'm just an old, so I need it.
So
I mean, look behind Steven and I. Clearly, we love the tangibility as well.
Yeah, but you know what? I also think of music. Like, I don't go to concerts. Like, I don't need to go. I'm not that person. I have one of my best friends. He lives for concerts. Okay, this is all he does. He travels the country going to see concerts. He saw, oh my God, when what's her name was here, Taylor Swift was here. He saw every show, and I'm like, come on, really?
So he's also a millionaire.
I don't know how he did that. Well, he knows a million people. I think he just knew. He knows a lot of people at these venues, so he things fell off the truck for him. But to me, that's a nightmare. I was like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. But I also love to go to baseball games, and I go to 100 baseball games a year. And to me, that's a big part of it. But most people don't have to go to baseball games, so it's like whatever floats your boat, man.
I think there's a conflation of factors. One is that as more and more people switch to the digital model, for consuming, right? And we definitely see this, and I know this. I don't know that this is 100% true, but I buy more PDFs of RPGs than most people because I have to buy them for my channel so that I can show them digitally on my channel. So I buy almost every. I'll buy a game that I have in print already, but I'll buy it again on PDF, even though I don't want it, simply so that I could show it.
They really could be giving you PDFs with the digital, with the printed.
They always should, and shout to the creators who do that. But PDFs have like tripled in price. So I think, but one of the big reasons people liked PDFs is because they were so cheap. You could get the game for $8-9 bucks.
Because people wouldn't pay for it, but that's going away.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But now that people are like, oh, I only get the PDF, and so the publisher's like, well, if I'm not going to sell enough print copies to cover my costs, then the PDF has to cost $25. Or the PDF, what was it? Was it Cosmere? I think the PDFs were like $35 or $40 a piece. I think.
Well, then you're also looking at licensing and stuff like that too, right?
Shadowdark. I think Shadowdark is like $35 or something, $40 for the PDF.
Yeah.
So now that when the PDF price starts to come up, you suddenly start going, man, for like 20 more bucks, I could have the physical copy, or 25 more bucks, I could have the physical copy.
So what about, wait, I got the worst one. What about Kobold Press? Kobold Press charges you $10 more if you want the PDF on top of the hardcover. They don't even give it to you for free.
Oh, well, that's brutal. Yeah, and there's other costs too, like shipping and stuff like that.
Right.
But like the other thing about it is you mentioned the digital process, which I don't know if this is necessarily a generational thing or if it'll change. But I know that as a kid, I used to have my CD collection, and you'd go into someone's car, and my buddy, you're a girl you like or whatever,
she'd change from the trunk?
Pick you up, and what you had was you had the folder,
Biblifo or whatever,
and you get to flip through someone's music to find something for the car ride. But that was like a physical that was like a manifestation of that person, right? Like looking through their music collection was in a way getting to know that person. And then as everyone moved to iTunes and digital, or even worse, which is what I do, Spotify, where you don't own anything. I know that me and some other hipster type people and people are continuing to dabble with it, was like getting into vinyl, because it was a way for me cassette, because it was a way for me to say, hey, this is important to me, and I want to be able to show it.
Yes.
And so that the physical aspect of the RPGs is as much about the collection for me as it's about a way of saying, like, if you want to know who I am, take a look.
You must see my trophies.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's why people bought movies, and that's why people buy. That was the big part about DVD collection, because people would buy movies and never watch them and just display them so that people know what they were into.
You need a Columbia House of RPGs.
Right. Sign up for only for the first RPG is a penny, and then we'll hound you for the rest of your life. You remember you get those little like stamps? You had to lick them
and stick it on and mail it back in, and
mail it back in them with the stamps.
Oh
my God!
Publishers Clearinghouse just went bankrupt.
They just went out of business. Yeah. That's true, Omenau. That's kind of like what Humble Bundle and Bundle of Holding do.
Yeah. Well,
although word of warning, just a shout out, if you go to Humble Bundle or you go to Bundle of Holding, make sure you go to the optional payment tab.
Right.
And rechange those percentages. You may not realize it, but you may be giving very little to either the charity or to the publisher. A lot of it might be going to Humble Bundle.
Wait, so I'm actually, someone wrote here like, oh, PDFs are that much? I'll just play Silk Song for $20. Okay. First of all, PDFs are that much because let me tell you something. I don't know about some of you, but like one book can cost $50,000 to $100,000 just to make one book. So yeah, PDFs are expensive because the physical production of the book can be, we'll say, approximately $5. Okay, it's plus or minus a little bit. It depends on the book. There's a lot of mitigating factors, but I'll just say $5. Okay. So for $5, it's like, so I have this thing. It's like, okay, you can buy the book itself for $60 and the PDF is $20. It's like, well, it's the same exact damn thing. If anything, the PDF should be $55 and the book should be $60, or $50. Because that's really, it still costs me the same to make. I think people started off, I remember when this happened, it's like there was a lot of pushback on people buying things digitally. I remember EA came out with a game. This is when the iStore, Apple iStore just came live. And they came out with the EA game. It was for it was like a crappy game for Mass Effect, and it was garbage. And it was $7.99, and people were losing their freaking minds because they're like, "Oh my god, $7.99 for a digital game? That is ridiculous!" And then also, if you remember the horse armor in Oblivion, and people were like, $3 for horse armor for DLC? Oh my god, I'm going crazy, blah blah blah. I'm like, it's still physical work, and now everything is digital. And if you're buying something, whether you're it's like, why should it cost less because it's digital than for physical, other than take out the cost of printing? Like, if we'll just say the cost of printing, we're just gonna make it easy, $5. Shouldn't the digital aspect only be $5 more?
Right. Do another thought experiment. Let's say somebody made a game, soup to nuts,
Right.
full art, full design, gorgeous, beautiful layout, and they made a decision. Maybe it's they have a love affair with trees, and they're like, I refuse to do a dead tree product. Right. I will only be doing a digital product. Should it be free? Of course not. Right. Like, they spent a ton of money and a ton of time to produce that.
Yeah.
You know. By the way, that horse armor thing, right over my head. I do not.
I don't understand. I don't even have a horse.
Well, it was the first. It was the first paid download for a massively popular video game, and people lost their minds because up to that point, you either bought
like a microtransaction.
It was the first popular microtransaction, and what it was armor for your horse, and that was it. It was basically visual, that was it, and people lost their minds because they're like, why would I pay money to make my horse look better? Let me tell you something.
People are spending all sorts of money in video games.
Oh, dude, I don't even all sorts of money. Video games just broke $280 billion last year.
Can I throw a hot take in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Premium gaming accessories and dice are the microtransaction of TTRPGs.
Yeah. Sort of.
When I see somebody spend more money at Dispel Dice than they do at Vast Grim,
I thought you meant like my special.
Than they do at Vast Grim or at Roll for Combat booth.
That drives me insane.
Kills me.
No, it kills me because they're like, how much is that book? You're like, it's only $40, and you get to play 45 different types of dragons, and I will give you the PDF for free, and the digital assets for free, and the Path Builder file for free, and you get over 100 high quality images. Like, I don't know, $40. I don't know. Sounds like a lot. Let me go over here.
It's not shiny.
How much is that dice? $200? Give me two.
And we're doing a con special, where you can get 3 for $600, and they're like, "Oh, great! Sign me up."
The psychology behind the difference between the two things is it's very strange.
Yeah.
It's having a special 2 for 200. Sorry, 1 for 200, 2 for 400, and 3 for 600.
But it does. I use dice because that's obviously the most we
use dice because when we went to the convention, we were across from one of those.
Oh, I know.
Dice vendors that were selling.
That was at PAX East, right?
Yeah, that was selling insanely expensive dice, and we're just sitting there like
we had to watch all day as our pitch would fall on like very interested ears until we got to what I feel like was an extremely modest and reasonable price.
Right.
And watch them go, we're watching the money right now, and then turn around and just buy everything from the dice vendor.
We see them go over there and just buy hundreds of dollars worth of dice.
And so I've made that comment before, right? Where like you have somebody like Arcane Mark, who wrote Pathfinder 2 and is a game design genius, and he's got a YouTube channel, right? But everyone's watching a bunch of schlubs who don't know shit, people like me. So it's kind of, again, there's this.
Some things.
I know some things, but even then, I am a very small content creator.
I was thinking about that, buddy, but you know what? You got the Riz.
Yeah, well, apparently not enough because, there are people out there who have, 100,000 subs and stuff like that. But anyways,
you don't have the Professor
No, I just say
Master
unpopular
Riz.
things, and I don't like things that are popular. But
well, you have the Riz with a very certain crowd.
Yeah,
just a smaller pool that you're swimming in.
Yes, I'm the king of the kiddie pool. But
I'm the king of the intermediate pool.
But no, but like the whole like process now of like, when people talk about D&D being under monetized, it's like, I go to these shows, you guys go to these shows. I mean, how many people there do you see and you go, what the fuck? This again, I don't want to shit talk on anybody, but I'm not in this industry, so fuck it. Like $40 tea, like what,
Oh, my new thing is,
right?
look, I'm like,
I know production costs.
Like what? That's not gaming.
Yeah, well, not only that, I do. It's like people are like, oh, what we did, Derek, is people are bitching about a $40 book, and then you and I went to go get breakfast, and it was like $45. And we're like, come on, really? Like seriously, you're not gonna buy one book.
2 coffees, 2 Diet Cokes, and a bagel sandwich a piece, and it was like $40-something.
Yeah, exactly.
And again,
it's hard for people that aren't in the thick of it, that aren't doing layout, that aren't putting all the work into making one tome of work, to understand how much is actually involved, how many hours and how many resources go into it. So it's I think part of it's just not really comprehending the scope of what it takes to make something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it also just speaks to something again about, like, as I've gone to more and more cons over the last 20 years, the proportion of what I will call legitimate gaming booths to what I will call nerd ren Etsy shops has vastly changed.
Sure. I mean, and it's also a lot easier to, pre-tariff, it was a lot easier to just go onto Alibaba and order. Like, I was seeing this like 2 years ago at Origins, the sheer number of dice companies where they were just going on and they were ordering from one of the 4 main dice manufacturers that are over there and just ordering whatever. There wasn't anything special to them, but they just had a setup, or like, 3D printing. It makes it a lot easier to make a bunch of dice rollers and things like that. So it's easier for hobbyists to fill up a booth space oftentimes.
So, by the way, a few things.
I mean, this is I'm over exaggerating this, but like the number of people who come up to RFC's booth and go, "Can I get this dice tower?"
And then I say yes, $100, and then they go, "Oh." That's actually the funny thing is I go, "Yeah, you can't get it. It's $100 because that's what it costs," and they're like, "Oh," because they think it's like 20 or 50 or something, and I'm like, "It's $100
is not bad for." What it is.
Our dice tower, it's pretty nice.
I mean, to be fair, it's gaming adjacent, but a dice tower can be a cool thing to have at a table, and I think it looks pretty neat.
Well, that one I have is really nice. I mean, that's a big one. It's got digital lights. It's cool. I mean,
and again, by the way, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with gaming having these periphery industries that support it. That's totally fine. What I'm saying is, you are overbuilding the foundation. You know what I mean? Like when the things that are the third derivative of the base are outselling the base, what is that? That's weird to me.
Well, that's because nerd culture is lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. We like it's all lifestyle because it bleeds into everything else. And it's not just people just wanting to game. It's like
lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
We had a super chat, Anthony Peterson. So there's something magical about a hardcover RPG. Hey man, there's something magical. I love hardcover RPGs. And there's something magical because here's something fascinating. I buy books. I have a gargantuan library of traditional books. And then I read my first digital book ever on Kindle was Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings. And I've never bought a book since. And now I only read digital, mostly because I can change the font size. I can change the colors. I'm older now. I can read it anywhere. It's more of a physical thing than anything else.
Whereas when I bought my Barnes & Noble Nook, I was not a Kindle guy. I was a Barnes & Noble guy. Oh, I still bleed the green.
What's Barnes & Noble?
It's a book.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I didn't know if maybe they're not everywhere.
Okay.
But I bought a Nook, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. I was traveling a lot at the time for work, and I was like, wow, now I can bring my entire library with me, and I can read whatever I want. And if I get sick of a book, I can just... And I used it for like probably less than a year, and I was like, I'm over it. I can't stand it. The first time my Nook died, I was like, never again. Because I'm like, well, my book wouldn't have died. And I don't know. I like the physical element of having a book, even when it's just for fiction and for reading.
I like a physical element of a book, but my point is that for RPG books, like this is art. Like this literally is art. Like you can't digitally, even though I get the PDFs, it's not the same.
Not
like,
the same.
It's just, these are not the same because these are art books. And like, I know, Derek, you love to make fun of me because of how much art I put in it. That's not an accident, man. Like,
right.
If I don't put this much art in it, you're not going to buy the physical book. Okay.
Right.
Like you need, how many times?
No, that's the number one lie that people tell themselves all the time.
What?
And I always call people out on it on Reddit and stuff. The lie that people tell themselves all the time. There'll be a new creator and they'll say, hey guys, I've got a great idea for a game. I want to make my own game. And this is usually this, they already know what the answer is, but they want to make sure that they get implicit permission, or I should say they get explicitly told by the community no. And they go, but I don't have the budget for art. So just to be clear, right, if I used AI art, that would be like a no-go from everybody, right? And everybody goes, no, that would be horrible and awful. I would rather have a game with no art than AI art. And the creator goes, oh, okay, good luck making a game with no art. Let's see how well it sells. I promise you it won't sell. Yeah, like if you just try to sell somebody a sheaf of printer paper, just just like with nothing on it, just it's a white, it looks like a pre-version of a script, that somebody handed you with, just this little typeface, and then you flip it open and it's just 2-column text the whole way down with no art breaks. I go, you're not going to sell a damn thing. Could be the best game that's anyone ever created, and you're not going to sell anything. So they're lying to you. They are lying to you that you do need art, and it does need to look good, or people will complain and people won't buy it.
Yeah, I know I want stuff to look pretty before I spend dollars on it.
Absolutely. People say don't judge a book by a cover. That's exactly how we judge books.
Does. That's such a bull. I hate that.
Exactly what we do. And
don't judge a book by its cover. Except that's what every human being on planet Earth does.
Right. Because not to mention, if you're like, if you didn't even spend that, everyone knows that, and if you didn't even spend that much time to make your cover look good, how can I even expect that the rest of your book is going to be in any?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously.
Nobody understands Draw Steel, Valdal. Nobody understands.
I was about to bring out Draw Steel. Like that's a big.
Yeah. Well, Matt Colville himself, I don't think he's made a video or talked about it in like a month. There's nothing on the like.
It's totally. I mean, I remember I said it's going to completely disappear. It is. There's nothing on it. It is gone, and and I'm kind of stunned what happened with that. It's like so weird. It's just.
I have a theory. My
they got it over their heads, or they made the game for themselves and no one else.
My theory is that they made the game for themselves, but they wanted to outsource getting their own custom VTT made for it.
Yes,
and so they did the Kickstarter so that basically they could raise the funds to do the VTT because it would have been cost prohibitive otherwise. And now they got themselves their own full game, and they're also getting their own VTT. And the people who bought it are happy, but they're not looking to like grow the ecosystem. Yeah, like they're not going to be grinding. I'm 99% convinced you're not going to see Matt Colville doing the convention circuit. You're not going to see James Intricasano doing the convention circuit. You're not going to see an MCDM booth. You're not going to be hanging out with them after the hours close at the shops at Gen Con and Origins. I think they don't want to be part of that ecosystem.
I love that ecosystem.
Yeah, it's fun.
Know, it's fascinating. So like, then what? Well, I loved, so they published Arcana, right? Or was that the name of their zine?
Their magazine, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, Arcana. But they stopped doing that. They used to do it as part of their Patreon, and then they stopped. That was amazing. That magazine was great. Yeah.
Why did they stop
doing it?
Well, I mean, you gotta follow what you want to create. As a creator, if you're not interested in doing that anymore, and you want to follow a different passion, Yeah. Even if it's not the money making one, you should follow what drives you.
I completely agree. I mean, that's actually what I'm curious, Brian. I mean, I know the answer. How do you decide what your projects are going to be?
Generally, it's usually whatever I'm inspired to make. Like a lot of it really derives from what I start on Patreon, because every month I usually release like 4 things, like a character, NPC, monster, whatever, and then I do an adventure, and usually it's something that stems from that. Now that I've gotten a little more structured and I know all the zines that I'm going to make over 2026, and I kind of have a rough, like the title or like what the themes are of each of those, I just kind of go through and start, because, okay, this part of my universe hasn't been explored, or I know that there's this faction that I haven't written about, but I know the themes of it. So that's kind of what I decide to work on. But it's always for me first. And it's like, if I make it for me and I dig it, hopefully the people that have come along for the ride so far will enjoy it as well, and we'll bring some other people into the fold along the way.
Okay.
I mean, and I think in a perfect world, that's how everybody would do it, right? Like, you know, it's like this comes from a place of love and passion,
right?
And the idea that if I dig this, some other person's going to dig this, and that's cool. Then we can do business.
And I've been doing it so long now. Like, I always tell people that the people that succeed are the ones that don't give up. You don't have to be better than anybody else. You just have to keep showing up. So as long as I keep putting content out and keep making stuff, I don't have to be huge. I just have to make enough to get by, you know?
Right.
You and I have very different philosophies.
Yes. I'm not the smart businessman philosophy, but I'm very passionate.
Brian and I are definitely vibing right now, Stephen. The joke, of course, is that Derek is terrible at business, and like every dollar I've ever made off my YouTube channel, I usually use to like upgrade my lighting and my video process and my video production and my camera quality and get extra lenses. I make a joke that like in my studio set, one of my digital lens setups is like more money than most people spend on their entire YouTube setup, and yeah, I'm here for it, you know.
So Kevin Smith says Stephen grew up as a rich kid, so his mindset is different.
Oh, shots fired!
You know what? I made all my own money. I didn't have anything handed
Stephen
to
M.
me.
Glicker Enterprises, SMG Enterprises.
I mean, I started my first company when I was 12. And I had my first incorporated company and actually was making money in 9th grade. I was doing play-by-mail games. I was doing this little game here, Mall Maniacs. It's reversed because I forgot to change it.
I'm seeing it right.
Oh, but anyhow,
we're seeing it fine on Zoom.
Gotcha. Yeah, on Zoom. But anyhow, look, it says D. Bolton instead of B. Dalton. And this is from
R.I.P. to B. Daltons.
Yeah, look, 1987 Creative Simulations. This is on my dot matrix printer. I made my first game and did all this layout in like Printmaker, Print Shop, or whatever. Check out that hand-drawn map. So, like,
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I've been doing this my whole life.
Brian is so impressed right now. I love it.
Why has there not been a return to Mall Maniacs yet? Why is that not your next project?
Well, because no one knows what a mall is anymore. Yeah, like that's why. Well, like that's why I like Stranger Things when they did that mall season. I was like, oh my god, that's my life because I lived. I was that. Yeah. I don't like Stranger Things is literally my life, except for fighting the demons. Otherwise, every single thing that's happened in Stranger Things, except for that, has pretty much happened to me.
There may be some minor changes
except for that. No, but like riding on bikes, yep. Malls, yep. I told you, it's like the girl Nancy, like the outfit she was wearing. My girlfriend at the time, when I was 12, actually used to wear the same exact outfits. The wallpaper in Will's room is the same wallpaper I had in my base. I was like, oh my god, this is like. I was like,
it's almost like the creative people behind it were very intelligent in making this direct, targeted attack at Gen X nostalgia.
Yeah, the funny thing is, guys who write it are they're
taking it all the way to the bank.
No, boy, not that you take it all the way back, because my brother is the same age as me, and he's a Hollywood costume designer. He watched it, and Danny was just like, oh my god, like these are like they whoever they hired, A++. Like they knew exactly the right people. They got everything perfect. And that's actually a big part of it is who you hire and getting the right people to do the right job. Like you were talking about, oh, you're getting like people to do AI for you in art, Derek. It's because you hired the wrong people. Like you have to hire the right people.
I didn't do that.
No, but I'm saying it's like, and I know you didn't do that, but my point is just like, if I'm hiring the wrong people, then I deserve to get the shit for hiring AI because I did a bad job and I hired the wrong people to do what I needed them to do. And that's a big part of it. So, I mean, that's something else.
Stephen, we live in America where corporate responsibility does not flow uphill, okay? It only falls down, all right?
It does flow if you have less than 50 employees. It still the buck will stop with you. Once you have about 5 to 6 layers between you and there.
There you go. Okay, that's when you can have culpable deniability.
No, I'm not even joking. It's completely true. I mean, right now the problem is, so I used to have a rule. So when I started out in the 90s and I did website design, if I knew who the boss was, now remember in the 90s, like everyone was doing websites. If I know who was giving me the check, sometimes they would stiff me or I wouldn't get the paid. So I had a new rule after that happened, like the second time. I said, okay, here's my new rule. If I know the person who is writing the check, I will not work for them. Because it has to be so far removed that to them it's just like a bill that they sign. And so that's why I only worked with Fortune 500s, because I was so far. The people who paid me had no idea who I was. So I had only worked for companies that were so big that I had nothing to do with any of the people making those decisions.
That's awesome.
So, and that's the opposite of ours. Is our industry is so small that you can go to these conventions and talk to everyone who works on it and works on the products. And I think that's the problem with D&D in some ways, is that D&D until very recently, even when they were big, even in the, like when D&D 4th edition came out, they did a tour. And I used to go to this convention in Long Island called Icon. It was the largest gaming convention on the East Coast for a very long time. And they sat down and it was like, I forgot who were all the main designers for 4th edition, but they all came and we played games with them. And it was like, okay, we literally the designers for 4th edition. Let's play some games. And this was a normal con. I was nobody. I was just a fan. And they would play games with us. And it was great. 5th edition, yeah, they don't do that. They don't do any of that. And I think that's a big part of it, is that they've become so corporate and they're so distant. And weirdly, I think Magic...
no, you're absolutely... I saw someone earlier in chat, and I completely agree with that. I've talked about before that one of the most magical moments of my entire life was I had just graduated high school, and it was summer of 2000, and 3rd edition D&D was coming out that fall, and a local game designer or a local game shop was like, "Oh, you guys going to Origins?" And we're like, no. They're like, "Oh, you should go and check it out. They apparently have a preview of the new edition." And me and my buddy Smith hopped in a car, drove to Origins in Columbus. I'd never been to a gaming convention before. And there in the center of the hall was the TSR, well, WoTC now, castle. And in the center of it, was a pedestal, a plinth, and on top of it was a sealed acrylic box with a silk pillow in it, with a copy of 3rd edition Player's Handbook, with 2 fist-size holes cut in the one side of it, so you could stick your hands through and flip through the book.
That's fantastic.
And Smith and I sat there. I couldn't tell you if we were there for 15 minutes or 5 hours. We were transfixed by the book and the look and the style, and it was an incredible moment, for a bunch of 18-year-olds or whatever. But having that presence of WoTC at the conventions used to be like the anchor point of these things, and now they don't even go. It's crazy. And now arguably they're almost somehow bigger than they were, in the zeitgeist and stuff. And
that's what I was going to say. So the lifestyle brand,
it's crazy.
I mean, it's probably one of the only, I wouldn't call it a good thing for tariffs, but it is fascinating, because I was walking around PAX West looking at all those lifestyle brand things we were talking about, Derek. And I'm like, I know how much those cost, and I know where they got those from. And I'm like, they ain't going to be here. Like, give...
Well, it's like what Brian was saying. Like, a lot of them were Alibaba, drop shipping.
Yeah, they are. Like, and more importantly, those things, like a lot of people were selling pins. Like, pins are way more expensive now. Like, everything's going way up, not like a little up. We're talking way
Especially
up.
metal got the additional 25% on top of the already 30%.
Yeah, so like everything is getting super expensive.
My woodworking shop burned down at the absolute wrong time, because now there's going to be a massive tariff on imported cabinetry, and cabinetry and vanities. And I was like, oh my God, I could have finally competed.
Well, the thing is that in those lifestyle brands, they're gonna, like, it's gonna take a little while, but if this stays the way it is, in probably a year or two, a lot of those are gonna not be at the conventions anymore, or they're gonna have to pivot, because they can't do what they were doing, which was go to Alibaba and buying stuff super dirt cheap and then just marking it up. And the worst part,
prices.
But to what point? It's like they weren't that cheap to begin with, because they had to still make profit. But the worst part is I see this on Etsy all the time. It's like I will literally see something on Alibaba that is now on Etsy, like 20 people selling the same thing, and which is actually not allowed, by the way. You're not even supposed to do that.
I've had a handful of my pin designs stolen and sold by other people that they buy direct from China. And because I've been doing it for so long, and My gelatinous cube pin is the one that's stolen the most. But
Wow.
Yeah, I hear about that all the time. About like you send it to a, you don't know if the person you're sending to is then just stealing your design and then off printing it and off shipping it.
well, and I mean, you can take photos online and recreate it. You can redraw it in vector art, and
well, now it's so easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Which proves something that has been true since the beginning of time. You don't need AI to steal shit. Okay?
It's true.
It just makes it faster.
Turns out people have been stealing stuff and ripping people off forever.
I'm pretty sure it means I've succeeded because people are ripping me off, right?
Right. They're like, this is a great seller. You're right. We want to steal this totally.
Yeah, imitation, greatest form of flattery. There you go.
I do need to wrap up in the next 5 to 10 minutes, though.
5 to 10 minutes. So, what is going on with your Kickstarter, Brian? You have I'm impressed you're doing I can't believe you're doing a starter. Are you printing your own box too?
The box is being made in the US. I have a prototype.
Because I wanted to do that, but then obviously it's so expensive.
This is a prototype. It is expensive, but if you think about the amount it costs to freight over from China, if you unsure tariffs, the overall cost is not that bad. The MOQ is a little higher, but I'm using the box not only as the starter box, because I'm going to print the back sheet myself and shrink wrap it with that. But then I'm also going to use the box for other things. You can just buy the box because you can fit all sorts of stuff in it. It's a little bigger than what the real one's supposed to be, because the real one should be the same size as the mouse ritter box as far as the height and width. But it's 2 inches deep, so you can fit hardcover books in it, zines in it, all sorts of stuff. But the Kickstarter launched yesterday at 9 a.m. Eastern, so we're just a little over, we're 30-ish some hours in. My math is bad. For a zine-based Kickstarter, I think it's doing pretty well, and I'm excited to see where it goes over the next 29 days, especially as I'm traveling around. And just the more people I can get into playing my bizarre game, the happier I will be.
Wait, where are you going to be? So this weekend, when's the con? The con's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'll be be driving early tomorrow, leaving 12-ish hour drive.
Maybe I'll drive down there.
Dude, if you come to Pittsburgh, you let me know, because I'm going to be in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is only like a 2.5, 3 hour drive for me.
Oh my God, come to Pittsburgh. We will hang. I'll bring you to the
I
best
used to drive, because again,
it's
it's like the David Lawrence Convention Center, I think is what it is downtown. And I think I've been to that convention center
actually, that's a good convention.
30
You
times
should come.
for Magic the Gathering conventions.
Right. I would say you can't stay with me, but
no. But, I don't even know if I would stay overnight. I just come down for the day and then drive back home in the morning and the evening.
Cheap. So go to drive to Monroeville, stay there. It's nothing.
Oh, I know. I've been to Mr. Nice.
You know what? I'm not kidding.
You could probably stay with me if you wanted to.
Or you could stay with Jason McDonald. He has a 2-bedroom and he lives in Monroeville.
Again, it's a 3-hour drive, but also, like I said, I've been out there a million times. There's a card shop there called Mr. Nice Guys Games in Monroeville that used to host PTQs. I've been out there before.
Awesome. Okay. Well, anyways, long story short, Monroeville.
I used to drive to Pittsburgh just to go to the IKEA.
No, that IKEA, I've been to the IKEA 1,000 times. Awesome. More times than I count. I don't want to count.
But anyways,
so you're going to be in Pittsburgh, and we're all going to be in and have a party, and my wife is going to fucking kill me. What's the next thing we're going to do? Sorry,
it's funny that you mentioned that, Brian, because the Fabulous Ultimate Kickstarter, their upgrade is the collector's edition is in a slipcase, but now the slipcase is going to be holding each book, which is going to be a slipcase.
A double slipcase?
It's a slipcase of slipcases, and I've seen a ton of things on Reddit where people have been trying and successfully doing it. They've been converting their collector's box for Daggerheart, and they've been turning it into a 3-ring binder.
Nice.
Wow.
They're trying to arts and crafts it by ripping this part off and turning it into a 3-ring binder so that they can keep all their cards and stuff in it.
I barely have time. I'm just putting it up. I like to look at it. That's about
I know, but I think your box thing, I think it's great.
No, I think
Battle
it's
Binders.
a good idea.
I'm doing a back kit collab project. I don't know if you'd like Mothership Month or the DCC thing, where a bunch of different collaborators in March of next year. There's going to be Battle Binder Month. So. Where I do all the binders for everybody, but
you're also talking to a guy. I think I put him in my storage, but I used to have the AD&D second edition Monsters.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, complete inspiration for this because that's I grew up on that. Yes. After I get back from Pittsburgh, I have like 2 weeks, I think, or a week and a half, and then at the end of October, the last weekend before Halloween, just north of Atlanta is LugCon, which is Level Up Games, is the biggest Atlanta-based gaming store. They have 4 locations, and it's their first convention. They're trying to make it like the biggest like Southeast tabletop show for basically all things tabletop and family friendly. So
it's a grinder, Steven.
We're starting off, dude. We've just started. Okay,
I know.
And I'm going to
this is true. This is literally the first year that you've done conventions.
I know.
And like if you got to find the conventions that work for you, the ones that you're happy with. You got to do a handful, then weed certain ones out, and
Well, we did East. And PAX East was good just because it was near me, and that was our first. I figured that was actually the beta test for Gen Con, because that was the whole point of doing East.
And you're doing East again next year, right?
I didn't sign up for it yet.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I can. Oh, I'm away that weekend. Actually, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh that weekend, so
Gotcha.
I got to figure that out, because actually that's something we could talk about, Derek. It's that I think what would happen is, like, I can help you set it up, but I actually think, and I could probably drive to Boston with you guys, but then I would have to leave, and then it would just be Derek, Mark, and probably Linda running it. And maybe like someone from the guys I use to run the conventions, but I can't be there for East because I have to go to Pittsburgh that weekend.
I'm still sorry.
No, I was going to say, so East, but then we did Gen Con, then we did West. West was interesting. It wasn't like a great convention for TTRPGs, but it was, we had fun. We definitely had a lot of fun. And boy, did we eat well. I'll tell you that much.
Nice.
Tim Tai Fung.
Are you doing Unplugged?
Yo, yeah, we got in, baby. Actually, I'll tell you why. That's the whole reason. Because I've been on that waiting list to get into Unplugged for years.
Yes.
And then I did East and I did West, and then they, quote, found a booth for me.
Right. Once you're in the system, it's easier to roll you into the other shit.
They got me a booth. I'm all the way in the back, and I'm like, who knows if it's good or not? I don't know. Like, I'm way in the back, but I'm like, whatever.
People are there for their RPGs at that show.
That show, I mean, I go to it. I've been going to that show since day one.
Yep.
That show is packed.
Yep.
People are there for only 2 things. They're there for TTRPGs and board games, and that's it. So that one, that's the one I've been trying to get into, and now I'm in. Unfortunately, I'm still not into Gen Con yet, so that's
hopefully you'll get there.
Yeah, that one I'll start bugging them a little bit more. I have a couple of aces. Paizo is also going to bat for. I know you helped, and Paizo is also bugging them because I'm like, I could get a few more people to bug them. Start saying, "Hey guys, just find me a booth. I don't need a big one."
Yeah, they're like, find one of those nonsense artist people that that are just selling their homemade stuff.
Well,
kick them out. So put a real publisher in there.
They made it bigger.
Look how many SKUs I have.
Well, I did, but you know what? They did make it bigger last year. I don't know if you know that. They added, I think, 2 rows.
Yep.
So they made it.
Gen Con?
Yes. They squeezed.
By doing what?
They made the aisle smaller.
And they made it a little deeper in certain areas.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they finally banned the strollers.
That's why they get banned it, because they made the aisles just a little bit smaller.
Which is funny because I didn't even notice. I actually was like, "Wow, this is really nice," because nobody was walking around. Nobody was walking around with their freaking, radio
tanks.
radio flyer wagons.
The best thing about PAX West was that convention center. Mwah! Oh my God, carpeted, brand new, air conditioning.
It was very nice.
Oh, It was so nice. And talk about space, so much space. I mean, that was like that brand new convention center.
Shayna, they didn't get rid of all of them. Obviously, some people were going to flaunt the rules, and I don't think they were going to be super, tyrannical about it. But the band, I think, mostly worked.
I saw a few, but if you know what, I wasn't that guy, but I could have been. If someone was being a pain in the ass, I would have been all right. I would have called someone over to
And even then, the people with strollers, had children in them, and I didn't really see as many double wides, which were in years past. So overall, all in all, I feel like it was a success.
The strollers that's something different. I'm talking about the people that bring the carts with all their
super wagons.
Oh no, I'm against both carts and children and strollers. Let me be very clear. Those are 3 separate issues.
Dude, you would have loved E3 because E3 you had to be 18 or older.
Oh, nice.
go. It was like a casino. And so there was none of that, no kids, nothing, which was funny because the only time when you saw a kid, then you knew there was a celebrity there. And like I saw a kid and it was like Steven Spielberg with his kid, or you'd see like it was someone who was a celebrity and they brought their kids because they're the only exceptions. Otherwise, no kids. So
Your hard cut time's hitting us, Derek.
It is. I do have to dip out. But,
yeah.
I have to go lose at racquetball.
Oh, I want to go to Gamehole Con. 2 reasons. 1, I didn't get in on time. And 2, again, October, I was, got a plan for playoff baseball. And if it's between Gamehole Con and playoff baseball, but I couldn't plan. Hey, dude,
You're not grinding like you need to.
Dude, the Mets had a 97.6% chance to make the playoffs. They did not make it. But I tried to get in the Gamehole Con.
Guardians had like
space.
a 3% chance in August.
Well, that's where that 97, that extra percent went to you guys. And,
well, it also helps that the Tigers went on a losing streak and we went on a massive winning run. But
everything counts. So
in any case, I think it's interesting. I mean, again, it's an interesting industry. Running a game company is not as glorious as people imagine it is, but it's also strangely enough, populated by some of the most legit and, hardcore gamer people that you'd ever meet in your whole life. It's, there are a few people who I've met who seem like they're mostly just in it, quote unquote, for the money. But the truth of the matter is,
wrong industry.
Yeah, right. It's just not that industry, and I think it just weeds those people out, fairly quickly. And certainly there are the people and anybody who sticks around, there's a lot of people come out, they do their big flash in the pan, Kickstarter, they make a lot of money and then you never see anything from them ever again. They were kind of a one and done. And
like
I think, no, but Magpie is not a great example of that because they continue to produce games all the time and obviously none of them have been as successful as Avatar have been, but they still go to Gen Con and they're still promoting their games. So I would actually say not Magpie. I'm saying like people that just, they make a game and it's like blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no one's going to buy that. And then you see compatible with 5th edition and they go, oh, it's a must buy. And so then they buy it and then no one ever sees from them again because the delivery is underwhelming and the product is underwhelming and that's fine, whatever. But when people stick with it, it's like what Brian was saying about going to the cons, being there, you almost start to go, oh, okay, like I can build a relationship with this publisher and trust that they're going to be around. It's why I don't watch TV shows or get into new fantasy novels because I'm like, I don't want to get George R.R. again, and get super into get super into a show. And then it's like, well, after 1.5 seasons, we've decided that this doesn't have the financial backing. And so we're just going to unceremoniously cut off the show.
Yep. So. But that's when you start writing fanfic.
Right. Well,
I've never read fanfic.
I've never read fanfic either. And
no, I said you start writing it.
Oh.
Well, if I'm not going to read it, I'm not going to write it.
I don't know why that just reminds me of a
we could
Parks
say
and Rec,
everything we do is everything that we publish is fanfic.
Right. Totally.
That is true. Actually, that is actually true. So that means I do not write fanfic.
When you read it.
I skip that stuff.
No, you read D&D fanfic, you read Pathfinder, it's all fanfic.
No,
you read Lord of the Rings TTRPG.
Lord of the Rings, by definition. Okay, Lord of the Rings TTRPG is fanfic. I will completely acknowledge that.
Is it fanfic once they're getting paid for it, though?
No, it's just fanfic, but without like the hipster credentials. It's just
it's fanfic, right? They're just not hipsters. Although Free League is pretty hipster.
They are. And
so they got the best of both worlds. They're getting paid and they're hipster.
Correct. And they sell well.
Oh my God, do they sell? God, and we went to the convention. Brian, you'll appreciate this. And we're like, the guys,
this was amazing.
We go to our booth. So we have our booth, and then we have the Tom at or Chris at the Free League booth. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, how's it going? He goes, oh, we're sold out of everything. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm like.
And the funny thing was, Steven basically kind of threw down and he goes, how is that possible? He goes, I just sell it. And he goes, what do you mean just sell it?
Wait.
And he goes, come over to my booth and sell it. He goes, well, when I get a break.
That's what I did. I said,
sure enough,
come to my
comes
booth.
Over, and then he's there for less than
sell.
He's there for less than 2 minutes, and then there's someone coming to the register.
He sold.
With
I
like
couldn't
a
believe
stack
it.
of books.
That's fantastic.
I know. He literally hard sold and gave someone and made someone buy a book, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, you were like, wow.
To hire him, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, he wouldn't do it. He said he won't. But I was like, it did open my eyes And that's the next step too, is that we do need one of those type people. That is, we're step like one. Step one
Right.
was getting the booth and having me and Mark and Derek there, people who can answer and talk to the game at a high level. Step two is to get the swarmy salesperson who can really sell your book. And I still can't believe he did that. It was
amazing. It was the opposite of whatever I am, because people will be like,
and I'm a pretty good
some
salesman, but I'm not that type of salesman. I'm a business salesman.
Yeah, people come over, they're like, well, I'm not looking for something very complicated or involved. And I go, oh, well, then you probably don't want something that we sell. We're selling for 5th edition and D&D, and then for Pathfinder 2. Those are very complicated, crunchy games, a lot of moving parts. I don't necessarily know that it would be great for you. And they're like, oh, okay, thanks. And I'm like,
well, yeah, he is. Yeah, that was stunning. I couldn't believe how I've seen that done a few times, but not in a TTRPG world. So
I got a dip.
All right.
It was great chatting with you, Derek.
Yeah, Brian, it was great seeing you. Looks like we'll see you
but not you, Steve. Don't worry about it.
Over the weekend in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, maybe I'll see you in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely see you at PAX Unplugged because I'm going to head
there.
there also.
I'll see. I'm supposed to go to I would love to do that panel. Send me the info. I'll see what I can do because I'm supposed to go to the Pitt home Pitt football game. But I think it's pretty early, so I might have time to do both because we only go and then we're going to leave, and I'm going to have a car, so I can probably drive there and just go to Monroeville and meet. So
awesome.
All right. Well, remember, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat.
Roll for combat.
All right.